Whoa. Whoa.
Horse noises, whinny whinny.
Clip a clop.
Giddy up, Alt Swift X. We're here to talk about horses.
We've ridden on a dark horse into this one-horse town. My kingdom for a horse. Horsing around.
BoJack Horseman.
BoJack Horseman. What other horse idioms are there?
I could eat a horse.
I could eat a whole ass horse.
I was last seen a horse.
Thailand was last seen a glidus.
Thailand is my fine steed. Like Bucephalus, I am the only one who can tame him.
Show me the meaning of haste. Glidus. Facts.
Oh, the Lord of all of Gorses. There we go. We got there. This bit was worth it.
So, hi. We're talking about the horses in Game of Thrones, the books, The Song of Ice and Fire.
Let's not beat around the bush. We all knew this was coming someday.
It was destined. We couldn't not do this if we tried.
Written in the stars.
We're going to talk about every horse in the Game of Thrones books, and we're going to rank it based on how rad it is. Is that our criteria?
I suppose.
We're going on how rad the horse is. Like vibes, look.
Where it ranks on the horse rad scale.
There'll be a swimsuit section.
Talent show.
Who's got the best whinny and the most lustrous mane? I keep thinking of Tina in Bob's Burgers. I think Tina is my favorite horse girl.
Yeah?
I think Tina should be an honorary judge of these horses. She would make good choices if she were here and real and three-dimensional.
Well, I'm happy that thought exists in your head and that you said it out loud to my YouTube audience. Personally, my favorite horse girl is Daenerys Targaryen.
Well, she does have a beautiful horse.
She does, and it's quite important to her story.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked. Like, I thought...
Your story over the past few days is really fascinating to me, because I'm like, let's do a stupid horse stream where we talk about all the horses in A Song of Ice and Fire, and you said, yep, all good. Here's my research document.
Yeah, I was thinking this would be a really just dumb meme stream. But I sort of got sucked into the Daenerys silver horse maelstrom whirlpool and like found myself like rereading most of Daenerys's arc in book 1 and going, wow, the horse is actually very important, you know? I mean, that was our discovery with our food description stream, was discovering that you actually can tell the entire story of A Song of Ice and Fire purely through the food descriptions as a lens. And to a certain extent, you can do the same with the horses, because so many of the horses represent the characters and their arcs and their emotions and their identity, and so it really goes deep.
That's right. And some of the characters are indeed a horse.
Some characters are horses. Some are not horses. But, I mean, they never... George never specifically says whether or not...
Tywin Lannister is a horse.
Tywin is a horse.
Yeah,
He doesn't specify.
It never says Victarion Greyjoy, not an equine mammal, not a one-toed ungulate.
Yeah.
Not a herbivorous, large creature of meadows.
And yeah, talking of ungulates, I think we've got a pretty broad church horse-wise here. Like,
yeah, we're open to all denominations of equine because we will be discussing all the horse relatives, not tapirs and rhinoceroses. We're not going that far, but
tapirs, tapir mention,
horses, donkeys, asses, and mules all welcome today.
There's camels as well in cars.
Camels aren't horses.
Well,
don't be ridiculous.
Well, it's like a Venn diagram situation, isn't it? We could, but all right. The taxonomy is another thing. So something that I do want to do before we jump in, like we're going to rank all these horses that you see on screen on this lovely tier chart,
and more maybe,
and more. But I wanted to clear up some of the terminology.
Oh yeah.
Because when I read A Song of Ice and Fire, I see a lot of these terms, like they call a horse is a destrier, or it's a courser,
or a rouncey, or a charger, or a palfrey, or a
shaggy garron, or a palfrey. And I was often confused by what exactly those terms mean. Glidus, could you enlighten me on what some of these terms mean?
Oh, I suppose so.
Because they are real terms, right? These are real, like, medieval horse words used to describe different kinds of horses.
George might be more codified in his usage of them than the real world usage would otherwise imply, but for the most part, he's, like, around what they all mean. Horses. Well, did you have an order in mind to present these? I guess like gender-based specifications are like most people will know that a mare is a female horse, that a foal is a young horse, and a filly is a female, a girl horse.
Yeah, so like filly is the young female horse, and colt is the young male horse.
And a gelding is a castrated horse, which is done so that they're easier to manage because hormones do things to creatures. It turns out.
And so they cut off the balls, but not the wang. Is that correct?
The stones, but not the pillar.
The stones, but not the pillar. So yeah, that's a gelding. And then, yeah, there are these medieval terms for different, like, kinds of horses for different usage. So, like, the destriers and the coursers are the war horses, ridden by the knights in battle. And the palfrey's more of a chill horse for riding. It's a bit smaller. It's a more comfortable ride. And the Garran is like a funny little shaggy horse that in A Song of Ice and Fire is often used in like the north and in the mountains, and it's good with tough conditions and getting you around.
And then there are the Dornish sand steeds, which again are bred for certain conditions.
Are they maybe inspired by like the Arabian horses?
Oh, surely.
Because that's another term that I think is used in real life.
It's not on your little horse document glossary here, but Rouncy, I think, is just an all-round, like, okay horse. Like, you can use it for whatever. It's just, like, sort of a good horse.
I've always thought of myself as a Rouncy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Jack of all horses. Horse of all trades.
Yeah, a horse for all seasons. That's what they call
Don
me.
Bradman of horses.
Yeah, that's right. What
the
kind
far lap of horses? No, that'd be a destrier, surely.
What kind of horse do you identify with?
Shetland pony.
Shetland pony. Nice.
I mean, have you seen their hair?
The hair's spectacular, and the hoofs also.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so that I think is some of the basic horse terminology that we're going to be using today. Young fillies and colts, the stallion.
Thanks
is
for
the
joining
not
us,
castrated male horse.
All the little fillies and colts in the audience today. Shout out to you.
Yeah, shout outs to all our destriers
and
out there.
And of course all the geldings out there.
That's right.
When was the last time we streamed? It was in the Lost Lands, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was a funny stream because it was about a new movie. We've never done a stream about a new movie before.
We've never had a stream about anything that wasn't Ice and Fire, have we?
We've never done a stream about something that bad before.
Yeah. But we had fun. I just wanted to, it's been a long time since we've streamed.
Yeah.
I wanted to catch everyone up because, a lot has happened.
What has happened?
Well, I broke my foot.
Oh, shit.
And I moved down 3 meters. So that's what's been going on in my personal life. But, world events. The Canadian election happened and they didn't elect me.
No?
The Australian election happened and they didn't elect me.
What?
And
again?
the papal conclave happened and even though I was in the running, you'll never guess what.
Well, you had my vote, but the other bloody cardinals...
Yeah, well, this is why I don't think we should get birds to vote in these things, but that's just what I think.
Gladys, there's usually only one occasion in a man's life in which he moves down 3 meters. You know what that occasion is?
Would it be burial?
It's burial, Gladys. So the fact that you have moved 3 meters down before your death marks you. That's unusual.
Well, you're making a lot of assumptions there.
Do you want to be buried or cremated or catapulted?
Feed me to the horses.
I really liked in the new Watchmen TV show when
there's a new Watchmen TV show.
I know, it's weird. It's kind of fun, but like Ozymandias like catapults corpses onto the moon with like a trebuchet, and I was always like, I feel like that's what I want for my mortal remains.
Did you ever watch On the Moon, the Weebles stuff cartoon?
No.
Oh, okay, because there's a lot of catapults on the moon stuff there that's being touched on.
Are you saying that the 2019 Watchmen TV show...
that's not new.
Was inspired. 2019 is new. I have a different concept of time than some people, I think, because when I say new, I mean any time in the last 7 years. When I say recent, I mean the last couple of years.
Right. Okay.
Have you eaten recently?
Yeah, I suppose I have. Yes,
Yeah.
I ate in 2020.
Hell yeah. Okay.
Pandemic did a lot of weird stuff to us.
I feel like I've derailed us slightly, but
I started it.
have we got a handle on the horse?
Yeah, I just wanted to derail the stream before we got started.
Yeah, I mean, if we never get on the rails,
If we never get on the
we
horse,
can't be derailed. If we
we're gonna
can't
be dehorsed.
we can't be thrown from the saddle if we never are in fact in the saddle. So what horse do you want to talk about first?
The one that Wyman Manderley can't sit because he's too fat.
Well, that's a hypothetical horse, then,
And I
isn't
think
it?
it's actually, like, metaphorically all of them.
Every horse. That's a category that contains all
Do you think
horses.
No, surely there's at least one horse he could sit.
Maybe one of Gregor's horses, because Gregor the Mountain
Yeah.
sits enormous horses. There is a line about another Manderley horse, quote, Sir Willis Manderley was only a few eels short of not being able to mount his own horse. She pitied the poor animal, because Willis is almost as fat as
I
Wyman.
can't believe you had that quote just on standby.
I did research.
That's insane.
You wouldn't believe how much horse knowledge is pulsating within my brain right now.
Why do you have ice spiders big as hounds on your research document here? That's not...
Well, we said it's a broad church taxonomically. So, like, maybe a horse is any kind of
a steed. Okay,
you know?
okay.
Like, ice spiders big as hounds are ridden by the White Walkers. We don't know exactly what kind of creatures they are. Like, there's a lot of different interpretations in the art of, like, what is an ice spider big as hounds? Is it an actual arachnid? Is it made of actual ice? Or is it perhaps horse-like?
Okay, well, I recently made a video about what dragons are, like
Yeah.
what counts as a dragon. And so, it like saying, is a horse just any steed, like taking that very loose etymology to it. I suppose dragons are horses as well, and we need to put all the dragons on this chart.
We'll be here all day. They haven't got hooves, Glidus.
And ice spiders do?
Doesn't say they don't.
True.
Doesn't say they don't.
True. Some dragons do have hooves, I'm sure. Hooves? Hoofs? Tolkien moment?
Huffs. I think that the first horse we should discuss is Daenerys Targaryen's silver mare.
Okay, that seems like an appropriate horse to start with.
So this horse appears in Daenerys' second chapter, near the start of her story, when she is marrying Khal Drogo. She's being forced to marry Khal Drogo, sold into marriage for Viserys and Illyrio's respective plans. And Daenerys at the time is very scared. She's very meek. She's basically a slave. She hates this situation. But she goes, oh, this horse is real pretty. Like, this horse is rad. And this horse has the same color hair that I do. It's like the silvery platinum blonde hair.
We're
and
sort
it's
of
like,
twinsies, yeah.
we're twinsies. And all of a sudden, when Daenerys rides this horse for the first time, she feels afraid at first, but then when she rides it, it's as swift as the wind and it feels great. And the horse and she, like, leap over a fire pit. And for a moment, she feels like she's flying.
That was the scene that was cut from the Game of Thrones pilot. The horse jumping through the hoop of fire.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was-
They filmed that in the initial pilot, I think, or at least they tried to.
Oh, interesting. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. A hoop, you say?
Oh, maybe it wasn't a hoop. Maybe it was just over a pit of fire. Yeah.
It would be rad if it was a hoop. Do you think that... I really hope they release that pilot one day.
I don't think it ever will.
Or I hope it leaks one day. It would be so much fun to analyze that.
I'm sure that it's been Benioff and Weiss's lifelong mission since 2010 to destroy all copies of it.
Just DB Weiss with a hammer, just like tonk, just going after all the floppy disks. I assume it's on a floppy
Or
disk.
several floppy disks.
Yeah, well, obviously you have to split it across several.
Yeah,
floppy
one for the
disks.
audio.
So like riding this horse is really the first moment when Daenerys is like, oh, maybe I actually can be strong and free. Maybe
yeah.
I can actually have a good time with the Dothraki. Maybe this can actually be something positive, not just more misery and slavery.
Doesn't she ask Illyrio to tell Drogo he has given me the wind?
Yeah.
That's such a badass line.
It's badass, and in response, Drogo smiles, and it's the first time that Daenerys ever sees Drogo smile.
Yeah.
And so there's this quote: all her life, Viserys had told Daenerys that she was a princess, but not until she rode her silver had Daenerys Targaryen ever felt like one. The first time she feels like a princess is when she rides this horse. This is how badass and beautiful it is.
That's such a sweet thought, and then you remember that it's because she's being sold into marital slavery.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like one of the undertones of Daenerys' whole arc is that it's incredibly badass, but it's also like a 13-year-old girl being forced to marry this barbarian and all the violence and slavery that surrounds all of it.
But she gets an epic magical fantasy horse that looks like her.
It's I mean, that's just the paradox of A Song of Ice and Fire, isn't
Yeah.
it? Is that it appeals to the most romantic, like fun, childish fantasies that we all
Yeah,
have.
it's
but it
capital
also-
R romance and horror blended into one without any lines. The lines are just gone. It's romance and horror all at once.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really lovely, and Daenerys gets good at riding on this horse. She says that she feels like this horse is her teacher. It's a filly, by the way. It's a young female horse.
Just like Daenerys, except she's not a horse. Well, she is a horse when she's riding the horse.
Doesn't say she doesn't have hooves.
The first Winds of Winter Daenerys chapter is about her massaging her hooves. Because they're all callous from wandering the Dothraki Sea.
Can you give a horse a pedicure? Can you like paint a horse's hooves
Oh, sure.
like nail polish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only got one, so you better, well, four. One on each foot.
If you do the front hooves, is that a pedicure or a manicure?
Oh god, do centaurs need to be here? I know there are no centaurs in, well, Lyanna is half a horse.
Lyanna Stark is a centaur. Yeah, that's what they say. I feel like if you had a centaur, if you did the centaur's fingernails, that's a manicure. And if you did the centaur's, any of the centaur's four hooves, they would all be pedicures.
Yeah, so I think that if we take that idea and put it back to a regular horse,
Yeah. I think it's all pedicure.
it's all pedicure. There is no possible way to manicure a horse unless you like glue rubber hands on.
glue rubber hands on.
If you can think of a better way. I've been trying for years.
So I think that explains so much. So it's almost suspicious to me how quickly and effectively Daenerys gets in sync with this horse. Like, at first she's a terrible rider, but she learns how to be a better rider just from riding this horse. Quote, "The horse seemed to know her moods, as if they shared a single mind." Now, call me crazy, but in this world, there's a magic of skin changing, where people can connect to the mind of an animal to control them. And we see Bran controlling animals. And, like, Targaryens, like Daenerys, have a bond to control dragons. And we don't know exactly how that works, but some people speculate that maybe it's a similar kind of magic to skin changing. And I think that there's a certain logic in the idea that Valyrians gained control over dragons in the first place through the acquisition of some kind of skin-changing power. Maybe from the Children of the Forest. Maybe that's the original sin of this universe. I'll shut up now. But
Yeah, this is still a horse stream, everyone.
it is a horse stream. But my point is that, like, maybe Daenerys has a little bit of, like, generalized skin-changing power to some extent, like Bran does and like Jon does. And so, you know, maybe Daenerys, to some extent, is actually magically connected to this horse.
I can't say no. I can't there's nothing in the text to disprove any of your ideas there.
Which probably means it will suck when the Silver dies, if the Silver dies.
Oh, yeah. Because we should probably discuss, like, at this point, the end state of Silver as of A Dance with Dragons. Daenerys is gone, and Barristan has basically claimed Silver for now. Which is actually quite interesting, because Barristan himself is something of a silver fox.
Oh, hell yeah. True. Yeah, well, I think it's obviously very symbolic that Daenerys has abandoned her mundane horse steed and is now riding her Drogon dragon steed. And her whole arc in her last chapter is about, will I reject peace and compromise for violence and blood and fire and dragons? And so
will I stay on the fantasy princess horse, or will I burn shit with my dragon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it would make a lot of sense if maybe the Silver Mare dies in the Battle of Meereen, or if Daenerys just rejects it. I mean, what if Drogon eats
burns-
the
yes.
Silver Mare?
Yes.
Ugh.
Yeah, like, why not?
That would be crazy.
At this point.
I didn't think of that till now, but that would be crazy.
It's also quite interesting that Barristan, like, he's a seasoned knight. You'd expect him to, like, gravitate towards the nearest destrier or charger or courser, like a warhorse. But no, he's riding a filly.
Yeah,
He rides a filly in the battle.
It's been some years. It's probably not a filly anymore.
No, it's probably a mare.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would still be a young mare, which I imagine would not be ideal for riding into battle. But I mean, Barristan talks about the symbolism of it, how
Yeah,
like
yeah,
people
yeah.
recognize it as this is the queen's horse, and so he hopes that it'll inspire the soldiers. So
So George has outlined that symbolism for us for Drogon to eat it later on.
yeah, God, I think that's an awesome theory. I think Drogon eating Daenerys' silver mare would be so horrifying and so
Yeah.
symbolic. And
Buy
so
now.
powerful.
Buy now while the stocks are low.
Yes. Bye. 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 So yeah. So in the books, the Silver Mare is currently alive, being ridden by Barristan. In the TV show, the Silver Mare dies at the start of season 2.
Died ages ago.
It just dies of starvation because I guess the Game of Thrones producers didn't want to have to deal with a horse because they are expensive and they poop on the set, which is probably fair enough, I guess.
That was one of the main considerations that George thought Game of Thrones would never be produced because there were so many horses involved, let alone the dragons.
If
Well,
you
he
ha-
put the dragons in because, like, well, there's no one's ever going to make this anyway because of the horses, so I might as well put dragons in.
If you had to cut the horses or the dire wolves, cut the horses, but they kind of cut
Yeah.
both.
Yes, they did.
They kind of cut both. So, did you know that Daenerys' silver mare appears in no fewer than 3 magical visions in the House of the Undying?
I suppose it does.
That is how important this horse is.
Wow, okay.
So, at the House of the Undying in Book 2, Daenerys sees a vision of her past. She sees the horse at her wedding night, and she sees the horse dragging the dead wine cellar that tries to poison her. And she has a future vision of riding the horse when she frees the slaves at Yunkai. 3 visions.
Featuring the Silver Mare.
The Silver Mare is there for all of Daenerys' triumphant moments. Like when she takes Astapor, when she frees the slaves at Yunkai, it makes her look strong, it makes her look badass. But here's what's interesting, Glidus,
Oh,
is that Daenerys rides the Silver Horse when she visits the sick plague victims at Astapor. And the disease that these people have is the bloody flux, which is referred to as the pale mare. And Quaithe has these warnings and prophecies about beware the pale mare. It's the symbolism of the disease. But Daenerys, while she's visiting these victims of the pale mare disease, is riding a pale mare.
that is true. She do be doing that.
So George Martin is drawing some kind of connection here between Daenerys' steed and the pale mare disease, and I don't know why. Because it's too obvious a connection for
To
George
not
to
mean
not
any-
like
yeah,
for
yeah.
it to be meaningless. Because it's like almost in the same paragraph. It describes Daenerys riding her pale mare, and then it says beware the pale mare disease. And it's like, so I'm thinking like, is it possible that Daenerys and her horse, when she comes to Westeros, will inadvertently spread a disease, either the bloody flux or perhaps grayscale?
Well, a lot of epidemics and pandemics do begin by transferred diseases from animals to humans.
Yeah.
So maybe the horse is a vector for disease infection from Essos to Westeros by carrying pathogens across the Narrow Sea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe when Drogon explodes the Silver Mare, all those pathogens will look like Grey Plague style, go up into the air and infect everyone around.
It'll become airborne.
Yeah.
When the dragon eats the mare, let all the world beware.
Oh, it even rhymes.
What a nightmare.
Oh.
Whoa. And it's like a biblical thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like riding the pale horse. So at the one hand,
Isn't the pale horse pestilence? Or no, Binding of Isaac would lead me to believe that that's green.
or is there wrath, or is it
Well, Wrath is red in the Binding of Isaac.
or is it death who rides a pale horse?
Oh, I can never get them straight.
I think that's a whole other topic, is
Yeah.
who exactly are the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, isn't it? But yeah, it's so interesting to me that the pale horse represents Daenerys' strength as a Khaleesi and her freedom and power as a queen, but it also seems to be associated with the biblical apocalyptic plague and death in the context of the bloody flux, and I just think that's quite odd. Maybe it is accidental, but I just think it's quite odd.
I don't think it's accidental. I think it's intentional. It's like fire and blood, the great power that enables your fantasy princess dreams that give you the power to actualize yourself, the power is double-sided. It's a two-edged sword.
Yeah. Yeah, I think,
and
yeah.
you'll end up, you could cause a plague that kills tens of millions of people. Why not?
Well, you could.
Oh,
I wouldn't.
you think so?
I think if you put your mind to it, you could.
Wow.
I believe in you.
Thanks.
I think you're right. Yeah, it's two sides of the coin. That's the other whole point of A Song of Ice and Fire, is that power is double-edged, magic is double-edged. So I also think it's really neat that when Daenerys marries Hizdahr Lorak in Meereen, she wants to ride her silver because she wants to feel free and powerful.
Yeah.
But for this wedding, she has to wear a tokar, which is a Myronese garment, which I think only covers one boob because George R. R. Martin. And so because she has to wear the tokar, it's not an appropriate garment for riding horses. And so it very directly shows how this Myronese cultural compromise that she's making for peace and for politics prevents her from riding a horse, which is a symbol of power and freedom. So she's very directly suffocated by the compromises that she's making in a way that stops her from riding a horse.
Yeah, so by compromising on her Targaryen queen identity stuff, she's inherently limiting her power because it's in denial of who she actually is.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, she has to have some kind of confrontational resolution of her relationship with her silver horse when she comes back to Meereen, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have other thoughts about the silver horse? I feel like it's an S.
Oh, benchline, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how we can find a more deserving horse.
S tier.
S tier horse.
Yeah, people in the live chat are correcting me.
Yeah,
it is
I was
not
gonna
the
say,
tokar.
I was gonna say that that's a Carthene thing, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I think you guys are right. Yeah, the tokar is not the boob dress. It's the Carthene gown that covers one breast.
Yes.
But the tokar doesn't. Yeah, good call. S tier.
Great, yes, S tier horse. Thank you, collective intelligence of live chat, for correcting my co-host on such an egregious blunder.
I will never heal from the shame of this day.
I in one of our very old live streams, I called the Shy Maid the Celisori Quran, and you corrected me immediately, and it's been plaguing my mind ever since. I'm never living that one down.
No, we do get stuff wrong. We got something wrong
habitually.
I think in a previous live stream we were talking about, what was it, Marjorie's trial by combat, but in the books there is no trial by combat.
No, it's a Game of Thrones invention.
It's a Game of Thrones invention. I mean, I think that's the most common kind of mistake for us, and for me,
the wires being crossed.
Yeah, I feel like I often get mixed up between the show and the book, unfortunately.
Get all turned around season 5.
Turned around.
Yeah, well, a Glider Swift live stream with fewer than 3 mistakes is considered a dull affair.
Keeps it interesting. So there's another horse that's important in Daenerys' Book 1 arc, and that is Drogo's horse.
Oh, we should quickly touch on why none of these horses have names.
Yeah.
It's referred to as Dany's Silver and Drogo's Stallion, because the Dothraki do not name horses.
Yeah. Yeah, it says that they're unsentimental in that way. Although it also says that the horse is the most important possession for a Dothraki.
I don't think that it's a lack of sentimentality. I think it's just pragmatic because horses die all the time.
Yeah, but the Dothraki do love their horses. I think that when they say that the Dothraki are unsentimental, I think that's in the context of that's early on when Daenerys doesn't know the Dothraki very well, and I don't think it's her who says that. I think it's the narration that says that, but it's I think Daenerys' understanding of the Dothraki and their relationships with their horses evolves.
Yeah. The horse is central to all Dothraki life.
But that's the same thing that Jaime says later on, is that he says, he stopped naming his horses because horses die all the time and he doesn't want to be too attached. So that's an attitude that people have all over the place, Dothraki or otherwise.
Maybe it's that, do the Dothraki name anything that isn't human? They name objects like the Womb of the World and the Mother of Mountains.
Yeah.
But do they name any other creatures?
Yeah, well, we don't see
a name's limited to humans in Dothraki culture. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the Dothraki keep slaves and do all sorts of dehumanizing things. So maybe that sort of corresponds with not being overly sentimental about horses. But I think there's a line where like they talk about how the Dothraki blood riders, they will share a Carl's like tent, and they will share some of his wives sometime, but they will not share the horse.
Oh, never the horse.
So that is like a point that the books make, is that the Dothraki value their horses more than they value their wives, or at least
Their
feel
mates'
ownership.
wives.
Feel ownership. But like, yeah, so it's like, it's a very messed up system of values. But like, what I'm trying to say, so like, Drogo has a rad horse. It's a lean red stallion.
Hell yeah.
And I think it's presumably a pretty badass horse. Like, I think this is presumably the horse that he fights in battle against the enemy Khalasar that they defeat before they attack the Lazarene village. And, you know, at that battle, Drogo takes a wound and it gets infected because he doesn't follow Miri Mazda's treatment.
He shoves mud on the wound and somehow that doesn't work. That makes things worse, actually.
Who would have thought? And so then Drogo gets sick and he's dying and he falls off his horse. And in Dothraki culture, if you fall off your horse, you're nothing.
Dunzo, you're out of here.
You're donezo. But Daenerys is desperate to save her husband. And so she gets Miri Mazda to do a magic ritual, which involves killing and sacrificing Drogo's beautiful red stallion. And so Miri cuts the horse's neck with a knife and she chants, "Strength of the beast, go into the man." And then, after a magic ritual, which is kind of interrupted and messed up because Jorah carries Daenerys into the tent, but after the ritual, Drogo, who was dying, is alive, but he's in like a weird sort of comatose state where he doesn't talk, and he doesn't seem to like act of his own volition, but he quote, "Drogo can walk after a fashion. He will go where you lead him, but no farther. He will eat if you put food into his mouth. He will drink if you dribble water on his lips."
So you can lead him to water, but you cannot make him drink.
Exactly. He's a horse.
Mr. Swift, I've been saying this for 7 years.
You're so right. It's crazy.
Drogo is a horse.
Drogo is a horse.
After the ritual, Miri put the horse in Drogo's body. That's like, as far as I'm concerned, that's clear as day.
What a prank. What an incredible prank. Like, she lived with the Lazarene, so they called her a lamb woman. They are the Dothraki. They are the horse
horsemen,
people.
yeah.
So she turns the horseman into a horse.
Get wrecked.
Funniest shit I ever saw. Because it fits the logic of magic in this world. Like, the logic of magic in this world is that spirits can go inside other bodies. That's what skin changing is. And a human spirit can be trapped inside an animal's body, like Orell. So by the same logic, why can't a horse's spirit be trapped inside Drogo's body?
Human spirits can also go inside plant bodies. That's what green sight into weirwoods is.
Yeah.
And like that's time travel as well, but let's not think about that.
Time travel as well. Because
you can look into the past through the weirwoods.
Yeah, well, I feel like you're remembering the tree's memory is what you're doing.
Oh, right.
Which is not necessarily time travel.
Okay.
Although it does imply that trees have eyes, which I guess is a whole other conversation.
Well, trees have, situational awareness.
I guess
They'll move out of the way if you drop something.
I mean, sunflowers can follow the sun.
Yeah.
They can detect light. That is seeing.
Yeah.
I feel like they just are a bit blurry with their vision, aren't they? They'd be short-sighted.
Interesting.
So
Do you have to give them glasses? What prescription does a sunflower need?
Yeah, I don't know.
Does Bran come out of the weirwood visions and he's like, I've
My
got to get
eyes.
the eye drops in me.
Yeah, I've got to put down my roots. What does it feel like to still be like in plant mode?
I bet it feels great for the plant.
I bet. So
Oh yeah, the horse.
So Miri Mazda puts the horse's spirit inside Drogo's body because Drogo's dead at that point, I guess.
I go on to argue that she took Drogo's soul and put it in the dragon egg, and that became Drogon. But let's not.
I like that.
We don't need to.
Yeah, so Drogon is just Drogo's spirit.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's why he's so angry.
and I think that explains some of Drogon's behavior later on.
But if Drogo's spirit is in Drogon, who's in Rhaegal and Viserion?
Viserys and Rhaegar. Actually, Rhaego is what I argue.
Rhaego is in Rhaegal?
Yeah.
Have you made a video about this?
I made 2 videos about it 7 years ago and then didn't follow up because I got distracted.
You should make theory videos again.
Oh, I'm too busy cooking.
So, cooking.
Yeah.
So so the horse's spirit is inside Drogo, and then Daenerys tries to have sex with it,
Yeah.
and then Daenerys suffocates it with a pillow.
Yeah.
So I've got to say, this is the most confused horse. Like, what a life.
Like, man, yesterday I was just walking down the road with the guy on my back, just doing normal horse stuff.
And now my hooves have little pink wiggly things on them, and this blonde chick is, oh my god.
And it all
what a
started
nightmare.
when some weird witch who called herself a maester slit my throat open.
What a Tuesday. So, yeah, no, that's upsetting stuff. What was that theory we had about someone's spirit going inside Lyanna, who then dies giving birth to someone?
Oh god, that sounds like nonsense. We would
No, I think Corlys.
Corlys-
Wasn't it like Corlys
Harwin
cut his
Strong.
own throat? Corlys cut his own throat to stop himself from being skin changed by Harwin.
Harwin Strong, yeah.
But then his spirit who went into someone who died giving child. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of fun theorizing you can do with the soul swapping. I know that. So yeah, the horse had a weird life, and it's a cool horse. We don't really know that much about it. Where should we rank it? Do you
I don't
think?
know. I think giving it B tentatively for now makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. B tier horse.
B for horse.
Because, I mean, the horse did do some war crimes, insofar as a horse can be blamed for war crimes.
Did the horse enslave or kill anyone? I think the horse just, like, was ridden by someone doing those things.
Just following orders.
The horse didn't do any of those things.
Well, one of the things you notice about, like, reading some of the horse stuff is that the horses participate in the combat sometimes, to a certain extent.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when the knights are, like, jousting and fighting each other,
the horses rear and
are
kick each other,
attacking
yeah.
with their teeth and their hooves. And they can trample people, and they crunch into people. And, I mean, you know, does the horse have agency in this situation? I don't know. Some horses have agency. Some of these horses do attack people.
Is
in
the
this
horse
book.
just acting in self-defense because there's another horse and there's a guy on top of it swinging a sword around?
Are they both acting in self-defense against each other, the horses?
I think the horses are blameless moral agents here.
I think horse ethics is a whole underplumbed field of philosophy that we could really get a lot deeper
Let's talk
into.
about
here.
plum ethics now.
Plum ethics is a big one. Okay. So that's a B tier horse.
Very good.
Which one do you want to talk about now?
The half-blind... Do you want to touch on the half-blind Garen?
I love the half-blind
Okay,
Garen.
yeah, sure. Why not?
Because I think there are also some wacky theories about this horse. I was not expecting this many horse theories, but we have quite a few horse theories.
Of
today.
course.
So
It's my main thing, somehow.
you need to make a video about it.
I've done like 3.
Yeah, but like a new one, because I can't scroll all the way down to 7 years ago on your
That's
video
what we're
tab.
doing right now.
Oh,
This
oh
is
we
that
are
video.
the video.
You're in the video.
Have we got a video?
Yeah, we're on the internet right now.
So Val.
We're making new internet as we speak.
Oh no. So Val is the wildling princess, and she's hot and she's capable, and Stannis suggests that Jon marry Val, but he refuses because he's a good watchman.
Don't want it.
And Jon kind of betrays Stannis by sending Val on a mission to find Tormund in Book 5, because they need to get all the wildlings together and get people through the wall and escape the White Walkers. And so the Night's Watch provide Val with a horse so that she can ride north. And the horse that they provide to Val is a shaggy grey Garen with one white eye. And Jon says, "You gave her a blind horse?" And Mully says, "Oh,
He's only half blind, my lord.
And Val says, "Well, the horse may be half blind, but I am not. I know where I must go." So I think what's going on here is that the Watchmen hate the wildlings. They don't want Val to succeed in finding Tormund. So that's why they give her a half-blind horse, is I suspect what's going on.
Without realizing that it's Bloodraven coded.
Yes. A one-eyed animal in the north. You can't not think of Bloodraven.
Yeah, come on, George. We're wise to you by now.
Because this is something that, like, you know, remember Maynard Plum in the Dunk and Egg books, who Dunk sees as one-eyed at one point, before it's revealed that Maynard was in fact Bloodraven in disguise. I don't think there are any one-eyed animals who Bloodraven controls. I think of like the one-eyed wolf who Varamir controls. But yeah, like one eye can't not make you think of Bloodraven, and Bloodraven is a skin changer with the power of controlling animals. So like, I think it's not crazy to think that maybe Bloodraven helped out Val and the half-blind horse to be successful in her mission.
Which is interesting to think, like, why does Bloodraven want Tormund back at the Night's Watch?
Well, because I think that Bloodraven wants to stop the White Walkers, and every wildling north of the Wall is a potential new zombie controlled by the White Walkers.
Okay.
But I wonder, because she succeeds, I wonder what happens to the half-blind Garen next.
Yeah.
Maybe Jon will be resurrected by the one-eyed half-blind Garen,
Or maybe
because Bloodraven will use magic through it.
Oh, yeah? I don't know. Maybe he'll ride it south.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Or
Maybe
north.
he'll ride it north.
Yeah. To find Bloodraven. I don't fucking know.
To defeat the Heart of Winter.
It doesn't matter. We can just make all this up, and it doesn't matter. Isn't that great?
At least until George publishes The Winds of Winter, we can make up whatever we want.
We can continue making stuff up even after that.
So I think that the half-blind Garen, I mean, I feel like it's a B because it only is mentioned like one time. And there's a cool theory about it. Actually, no, I think it's an A because it does a good job. The odds are stacked against it, but it succeeds anyway.
Wow, you're really steering into this mentioned once horse to put it above Drogo's epic red stallion.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, it's not
like sure, there's a cool theory about this half-blind Garen. Did you hear what we were talking about with Drogo's stallion?
That is much better, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think, well, maybe we should move Drogo up to A.
Sure.
Just because the theory's cool, and then the Garen can be B. I think that's appropriate.
I will agree with you there. We did it.
What's the next horse?
Well, shall we talk about Dancer?
Let's talk about Dancer. Who is Dancer?
Well, when Brandon Flowers sang "Are We Human or Are We Dancer," I'm pretty sure he was talking about Bran Stark's horse in the first two books of A Song of Ice and Fire.
I find it slightly improbable, but you might be right. So, Bran initially rides a little pony, because Bran's a little man.
He's a little boy.
And Bran is all excited at first because Ned promises Bran that when they go south to King's Landing, Bran can ride a real horse, not just a little pony.
I love how exciting that is for a little boy.
That would be exciting, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But then tragically, Bran is pushed from a tower by Jaime.
That was Jaime?
Spoilers. And so Bran thinks he can never ride again. And so that detail about wanting to ride a real horse makes it all the more heartbreaking, you know?
Yeah,
Right.
there was so much about Bran's future that he was looking forward to that is taken away from him by Jaime.
Yeah.
He was going to be a Knight of the Kingsguard.
So Bran feels like his life is over, but then Tyrion comes by and says, hey, here's a design for a saddle, a special saddle, that will help you control a horse. And, like, you should, instead of controlling a horse with stirrups and stuff, you should use touch and the reins, and you can find a new way to control a horse. So, like, you actually can ride a horse despite your injury.
Here's a new way to control animals without your legs, Bran. You can intuit ways to control animals, Bran.
So it's the beginning of his skin-changing
Isn't that
journey.
fun?
Yeah. It's so cool and little and subtle, but that's what George does with all his character arcs, is that he takes his characters through steps. They don't just suddenly become a different person.
Yeah.
They're introduced to challenges and mentors and little steps that put them towards the person they become. So Bran gets Summer, then Bran gets Dancer, then Bran gets Hodor, and then Bran skin changes Ravens, and then he skin changes Hodor, and he gradually takes steps towards magic, towards abomination, towards change as a result of the things he's experiencing. It's all very...
Each domino is a logical step. By the end of the chain, we've knocked over the planet.
Yes. So Dancer is the horse who Bran learns to ride with this special saddle. And Dancer is a small chestnut filly, 2 years old, and is, quote, smarter than any horse had a right to be.
Huh.
Bran does a really good job of controlling this horse without the use of his legs. Maybe he's skin changing him a little bit.
Question marks flying around us right now.
Yeah. I think that given that Bran's a powerful skin changer, and he does skin change animals, maybe on some subconscious level he is skin changing Dancer.
All of this, like, just intuitive skin-changing talk just leads me back to the theory that Sansa has some strange power to control men.
Huh.
Do you remember that one?
No.
Yeah, people think that Sansa has like this strange influence over men, and that it's an expression of her innate skin changing abilities because, Lady was taken away from her so early.
I mean, sure, but she might also just have some riz.
Yeah, she might just be cooking.
Yeah. I mean, she's had to learn how to deal with scary, powerful men as a result of the scary, powerful men who have abused her for 3 books.
In a story that deals so heavily with magic and personality, you need to draw a line somewhere.
Yeah, that's always the risk, is that you turn everything into a supernatural theory when it's just like, no, people are people who learn things, It's a real subtle balance, which I think George steps carefully.
But there's so much more skin changing in these books than is told to you explicitly.
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm getting at.
Arya skin changing the cat is certainly a fun one.
Yeah.
So Bran's really excited to ride Dancer because he thought his life was over, but now he's like, oh, I actually can ride. Maybe things are still possible. And so he's really happy about it. And, quote, it felt almost as good as flying. So just like Daenerys riding the Pale Mare in the same book, she feels like she's flying. And then Bran, in this same book, has a dream of flying, which when Bloodraven enters his dream, and it's like a metaphor for his awakening power as a Greenseer and a skin changer. So it's all connected. This idea of like power and freedom, magic, horses, dragons, it's all kind of the same thematic vibe. This is the horse that he's on when the wildlings attack, Stiv and Osher and the rest. And Bran then has to hide in the Winterfell crypts when Theon, then Ramsay take over Winterfell. And when Ramsay burns Winterfell, it seems that the horse dancer tragically burns to death. And he's really upset by that.
Would be.
So I think it's the death of his innocence. It's the death of his humanity. It's another step towards magic and towards abomination and weird stuff away from the normal, mundane human world.
What do you think of the name?
Dancer. Yeah, well, I mean, that implies freedom and joy, which is what Dancer represents to Bran.
It's also access to something he otherwise would never be able to do.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't dance in a conventional way, but
he's never going to dance again because guilty feet have got no rhythm.
There's also the woods dancer is a term for the children of the forest's warriors. So that's another little supernatural connection there.
And then almost definitely irrelevant, but the water dancers are bravos.
Yeah. Yeah, all an expression of freedom and joy, I guess.
Yeah.
Who do you think Bran will skin change next? Like, he's skin changed Hodor, he's skin changed Summer, Ravens, maybe Dancer to some extent.
Well, who does he have access to anymore? It's Mira, and then like Leaf and Bloodraven.
Well, I'm assuming he'll leave the cave, and I'm also assuming that his magic power, the range of his power, will extend.
Right. What if he gets to Cold Hands? Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be cool. I mean, in terms of like, if there's ever a reveal about who Cold Hands is, and I think there has to be a reveal about who Cold Hands is, it would be cool if we learned it by Bran entering Cold Hands' mind and body. That would make sense to me. Maybe that's how. I mean, I think you like the idea that Cold Hands is the Night's King,
the OG Night's King.
Yeah, and Bran is fascinated by the Night's King, and that would be an interesting way to drop some crazy lore.
Yeah.
So
what if Bran's skin changes Jon?
Yeah, maybe. Wouldn't it be funny if like we get a resurrected Jon at the start of the Winds of Winter, but then we see that it's actually like we don't get a POV. So then it's revealed that the person claiming to be resurrected Jon is actually Bran Stark in Jon's body. And then we get a real Jon later on.
That's crazy.
Like, what if Bran uses his power to prevent Jon rising as a zombie and instead inhabits his body to like prevent that from happening?
And he just pretends to be Jon for ages.
That'd be funny. Do you think Bran could do a convincing Kit Harington impression?
I do want it.
I do want it. I think Bran will skin change a dragon. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, that does sound like a Chekhov's event.
I think Dancer is... What, A, B?
Look, we put the Red Stallion and the Half-Blind Garen in those places because of the theories associated with them. Dancer, like, sure, Bran's probably skin-changing Dancer, but I don't think there's much tinfoil associated with that. And, like, is Dancer that rad?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, empowering Bran's ability to move again is...
That's pretty rad.
Is pretty rad. But yeah, we don't get a lot of detail about
Yeah.
Dancer and not a heap of personality from Dancer. So yeah, I think B makes sense, doesn't it?
We can put this horse in B.
Who is Smiler?
Smiler is Theon Greyjoy's horse, which friggin' burns alive and runs through Winterfell as it's being sacked by Ramsay.
Yeah.
Oh man, and it's the last thing he sees before he. I mean, if you're reading A Song of Ice and Fire for the first time, Theon dies in that chapter,
Yeah.
right? And then he just like suddenly reappears 3 books later.
It's 13 years.
Yeah.
13 years between A Clash of Kings and A Dance with Dragons.
Oh my god.
For the reader, that's how long Theon is missing before he reappears as Reek in Ramsay's dungeon.
That's almost as long as there hasn't been a Jon Daenerys Tyrion Bran chapter.
Yeah, we thought that wait was long. Yeah, because that's one of the differences between the books and the show, is that in the show, Alfie Allen does a wonderful job playing Theon, but he plays Theon as like a sort of a mopey, sad boy who is like very obviously mopey and sad about the fact that he's been taken from his Ironborn family and he's sort of a hostage with the Starks.
But he acts it out with this aggressive bravado.
Yeah, in the books, Theon pretends he acts more cocky and he acts more smiley and he's always making fun of everyone. He's sort of got this like cruel, mocking energy, making everything a joke. That's like his defense mechanism. And so, you know, Osha calls him a smiley boy who's always smiling. And so Theon takes that and he names a horse a Smiler when he buys a horse in the Iron Islands. And it's, quote, a stallion with a temper as black as his hide, larger than a courser. The animal had fire in his eyes. When he met his new owner, he'd pulled back his lips and tried to bite off his face. And, I think on some level...
Good boy.
Yeah, good boy. Like, Smiler's trying to eat Theon's face because, on some level, to the reader, we're indicating that Theon's about to betray Robb and is, basically a bad egg. But, it's way too much horse for Theon Greyjoy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is a huge, powerful, dangerous horse, and Theon is so overconfident. It's like
this is a Sandor Clegane level horse.
Yeah, exactly.
You are not Sandor Clegane, Theon Greyjoy.
Wait.
Sandor sort of is just a superpowered Theon, isn't he?
Yeah, well, yeah, Sandor
Being
is
a
almost
sad boy
like...
who constantly acts out with aggressive bravado.
That's true. Like Sandor is like Theon if he goes down a dark path and more bad things happen to him and he doesn't adapt very well. Like Sandor is like a possible future for Theon almost.
Yeah, if Reek goes the other way.
But I think that Smiler like also represents the idea that Theon at this point in the story is biting off more than he can chew in general.
Yeah.
Like he thinks that he can betray the Starks. He thinks that he can become the new king of the Ironborn.
He thinks he can impress his father.
Yes. And he's just like taking a challenge that's way too large for what he's actually capable of, which his family indicates by saying, no, you got to raid the Stony Shore, not take Winterfell. But he does it anyway, and this is his folly. He's a cocky 20-year-old boy who thinks that he can do more than he can.
And then watching it all go up in flames and run around before he dies, like that's just perfect, isn't it?
Yeah.
Watching the thing that he quite literally bit off more than he could. Well, not literally. Oh, is there a moment when he bites off more than he can chew?
Probably.
I wouldn't put it past George. Like he's taken on more than he can handle. By sacking Winterfell, and then like the horse that represents the same thing runs in front of him on fire, dying.
Yeah, the horse is his ambition, his pride, his like dumb teenage masculine impulse to rule the world, and it burns in front of him.
And he ruminates on this when he comes back as Reek. Like he thinks about Smiler from time to time.
Well, when Ramsay makes Theon betray the Ironborn at Moat Cailin to take back Moat Cailin, that's when Theon rides a horse again. And I think it talks about how like Theon is so injured and tortured by Ramsay that he struggles to ride a horse.
Too frail to sit a horse.
But, quote, the memory came back in a rush. Smiler's screams had sounded almost human. His mane afire, he had reared up on his hind legs, blind with pain, lashing out with his hooves. No, not mine. He was not mine. Reek never had a horse. So the horse Smiler is directly tied with Theon's identity.
Yeah, the ambition, the aggression, the bitchiness.
Yeah,
the being on fire.
So I'm really curious, like, if Smiler is like the death of Theon's old identity, what happens when Theon tries to reclaim an identity? What happens when he tries to reclaim his strength? Like, will he have some kind of new horse to symbolize that, or
I really hope so.
or a new ship? And what will it be named? You know, like, what is Theon's new identity?
Contemplation. That's a great name for a horse.
Second thoughts. Prudence. How about prudence?
Thinking things through.
Well, probably. I mean, what about, like redemption, or like, I mean, that's too on the nose.
Yeah.
But like, try. I mean, amends is the name that Rohan suggests for the horse Flame.
What if he somehow gets his hands on one of Jaime's horses, Glory and Honor?
Oh, that would be so good.
Yeah.
That would be so good. Yeah.
Or Craven.
Yeah. What about Wolf Squid?
Because
that's what happens in the Game of Thrones show.
Yeah. You're a Greyjoy.
And
you're
a
a Stark. You're
Wait.
a wizard.
Which, it was a perfectly good thesis statement. Perfectly good thesis statement for Theon to attempt to be a Stark and a Greyjoy instead of one or the other. They just did not follow through with that.
Yeah,
in
it
the
doesn't
TV
mean
show.
anything when Jon says that.
Yeah. I think the horse is powerful. I think Smiler, the horse, it's effective, it's powerful, it's
great
scary.
metaphor.
Just the image of it burning is so... And there's some wonderful artwork here on screen by Jane of Poole. Some really... Just a really powerful image, and it really works as a character piece. I don't think we've got any tinfoil about it in particular.
Yeah, it's just a metaphor to analyze.
Yeah.
I do want to point out that Smiler isn't in Game of Thrones at all. They leave this entire thing out. Oh, hi, After Effects. But they do have a bit of a reference to Smiler in season 5 at Stannis' camp when Ramsay's 20 good men like get all up in there and tussle around and set a horse on fire, and it runs through the camp, and there's like a focus shot on it.
Oh, neat. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't notice that. I feel like that's an A.
Half Blind Garen. Like, yeah, just the imagery that Smiler comes up with, like, absolutely, yeah.
It's powerful. I think it's one of the most memorable, if not the most memorable, horse moments in Game of Thrones is the burning of Smiler.
I don't know, we're yet to touch on Tyrek.
We'll get there.
I do love that Tyrek and Tyland are just sitting in the corner this whole time.
Well, they are a horse. Well, no, I guess with Tyland, I mean, strictly it is Prince Jaehaerys Targaryen, son of Aegon, who was hypothetically going to be a horse on Tyland.
Yes.
That is the little horse riding thing. So maybe Tyland is like an F-grade horse. I mean, what is a human if not an F-grade horse?
We are pretty bad at being horses, I should say. Though there are much worse animals at being horses than we are, like sea cucumbers, for instance. Terrible horses.
You couldn't get a saddle on a cucumber?
Well, a sea cucumber. I suppose you could, but like it there's no family structure the same way that horses have. They can't run. They don't have manes that majestically billow in the wind. F-tier horse.
Yeah.
Can you put sea cucumbers on the tier list and put it in F-tier?
Sea cucumbers, F-tier horses. All right, so Ramsay Snow, Ramsay Bolton also has a horse. And I love that so many of the horses in this series have very poetic names. They have very evocative names. They have, flowery names. But Ramsay Bolton just calls his horse Blood. Because he likes blood. He likes hurting people. He's an evil torturer. Blood is a red stallion with a temper to match Ramsay's temper.
Well, a lot of real-world horses have very silly names. I think On the Nose could run in the next Melbourne Cup. You never know.
And this is the horse who he presumably uses to hunt humans for sport in the woods, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because he hunts women and has them eaten by his dogs. Which, by the way, I think it does make sense for Ramsay to be eaten by his own dogs in the end. Because he names the dogs after his victims. So when his dogs eat him, it's symbolically like his victims are getting revenge. Which I don't think that Square Alt-Shift-X even mentioned in the Game of Thrones episode video in which that happened.
What a rube.
What a nincompoop. But yeah, Blood's scary. Blood's appropriate. Blood works. Ramsay calls Blood a bastard at one point, which I think is funny.
Or maybe it is a bastard. Maybe his horse parents weren't horse married.
You don't think... the horse parents were horse married. Yeah, I think that's a good theory.
Well, the thing with horse family structures is, who cares? We don't have time.
Are horses monogamous?
No.
Okay, good to know. Do they look after their foals
Yes.
collectively, or like does the mare look after them, or does the stallion get involved?
I actually don't know, like, in the data, like, who picks up groceries and drops them off at soccer practice.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know.
But, like, they all do live in a group. Like, stallion, mare, her foals, next mare, her foals, and, yeah.
They're social animals.
Yes. They have a family hierarchy. That's actually why it was so easy to domesticate them, among other reasons, was that if you tamed the stallion, you've tamed the herd. I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than that, but that's the general idea. Zebras, no such familial structure. They don't care.
Well, we're getting to Zorses. So Zorses are the anarchists of the ungulate family, whereas horses have a more structured monarchic.
That's one way of thinking about it, yeah.
Horses are feudalists, and zebras are Marxist anarchists.
They're more like nomadic hunter-gatherers, I think. Like, it works for them to hang out together, but it's not actually a familial social structure.
Zebras are anarcho-primitivists with stripes.
Return to horse monkey.
Yes. So, Blood tries to kick Theon.
Dick.
Do you think Ramsay is skin changing Blood? He is a first man. It's plausible.
Suppose it's possible. Or maybe the horse is just a knob.
Maybe Theon will set Blood on fire to get revenge for Ramsay setting Smiler on fire.
That's a fun idea.
Do you think someone's going to eat Blood because the North is currently starving? I mean, that's the thing. That's probably going to happen to like most of these horses. They're probably going to all get eaten because everyone's going to starve in the long night.
And maybe setting the horse on fire is the fastest way to cook it.
Yeah. Well, no, though, cannot, because they talk. Of course, they talk about that when Stannis' army starts eating his horses, and it turns out it's quite difficult to cook a whole ass horse.
Wow, what a crazy series! Like there's actually a moment where we know canonically that setting a horse on fire isn't the fastest way to cook it.
Did we include that in our food descriptions?
I think we did.
Stream. I feel like Blood is like C.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing wrong with Blood. He's a good reflection of his rider.
But there's not too much going on here.
Yeah.
Glory
and
Hallelujah.
honor. So Jaime Lannister, he's an interesting boy.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think you could talk about Jaime Lannister in season 1 of Game of Thrones for 50 minutes?
I feel like I think we both have for at least that long.
Yeah.
So Jaime was kind of angry and messed up, and he did some bad things, and he's in a very toxic relationship with his sister, and now he's kind of beginning to try to be less awful.
This sounds like the beginning of an Am I the Asshole post.
It does, doesn't it? And so in book 4, he rides around the Riverlands, and he basically witnesses the horrors that his family has inflicted upon this world. And he ends up rejecting Cersei at the end of the story. And while he's doing this, he rides a horse named Honor, because he's given 2 horses that his squire names Glory and Honor. And Jaime, like, sniggers at that because he's so cynical and he doesn't name horses. But it becomes this sort of ironic, on-the-nose metaphor for Jaime's own honor and Jaime's own glory. And while the horse Glory is dressed up in Lannister proud crimson and gold, Honor is dressed in white, like a Kingsguard. And so the fact that Jaime chooses to ride Honor instead of the Lannister Glory...
which identity he values more.
Yeah. So like with almost every other horse in the series, the horse becomes a symbol for the identity of its rider.
Cool.
The palfrey is a blood bay. The destrier is a magnificent grey stallion. I'm guessing that the blood bay palfrey is
Glory.
I would guess that it's Honor, because you would want to ride the palfrey. So, like, Jaime's going on a long journey, and a palfrey is more comfortable to ride than a destrier, right?
Yeah, but oh right, no, yes, you're right. Sorry, yes, the destrier being the more magnificent, like, glitzy one. should be on Glory.
Yeah, I think the big magnificent warhorse wouldn't be the one you want to ride.
Yeah,
And
sorry,
he's
the
riding
colors mix me around because the grey one, just the white Kingsguard and the Blood Bay red.
Yeah, you'd
Lannister,
think that
yeah.
the Blood Bay
But
would
no,
be
like,
the
they're dressed in
Lannister glory.
complementary clothing to their skin,
They're a pair. Do you think they're twins?
like Jaime and Cersei.
Yeah.
And Cersei's more obsessed with glory,
Yeah.
and Jaime's into honor.
There's a horse theory for you.
Yeah.
Glory and honor are twins, which itself is like a poetic sort of a statement, isn't it?
Wow, that's canon now. I declare it so.
So Jaime like sarcastically thinks about the horse's honor and glory a few times. And like, he thinks about what motivates him, and someone asks him what he's doing, and Jaime thinks, I did it for honor, I did it for glory. That would have been a lie. I did it for Cersei. And he's deliberately evoking the horses' names. But then later on, the Blackfish, Brynden Tully at River Run, asks Jaime, do you even know what honor is?
Honor is a horse.
And Jaime thinks honor is a horse.
One of the coolest lines in the series.
It's just very, like, I just love Jaime's just tired cynicism and sarcasm. I think he's like 30 in the books, but dude is like 60 in his heart.
Head.
Yeah. Like he's been through like 60 years of like trauma and incest. He's just tired.
Oh, he was
man.
40 when he killed Aerys Targaryen. At
Yeah.
age, what was he, 18 when that happened?
Yeah, 18 going on 40.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like how, so many of the other characters are like, yeah, like all these kid characters, they're all like, yeah, I'm going to be powerful on my big stallion.
I'm
and
going to tame
name
the
it Smiler."
nastiest horse and call it Smiler, and I'm going to conquer Winterfell. And Jaime's over here like, fucking...
Yeah, Jeremy's like, oh, damn, man.
guess,
just like,
yeah.
get me where I want to go. Like, just, I'm done.
Just put the fries in the bag.
And that's like the tone of, and that's the tone of like all of A Feast for Crows, where Jamie's just like, oh, I hate this. Like, he's just talking to these like squabbling brackens and blackwoods and these bloody Tullys that won't give up. And Jamie's like, what is the point?
Why are we
What is
here?
the point of all this misery? Oh my god. And yet he rides on honor when he's trying to do things right. So I rate it. I feel like we got to rank these guys as a pair, don't we? Glory and honor.
Yes.
I feel like a package deal. I don't know if Glory is really mentioned later in the book. Like, I feel like they mention Glory and honor at the start, and then Jaime proceeds to ride honor for the rest of the book. But I don't know if it mentions Glory. I don't know who's riding Glory, if anyone, right now.
Well, sometimes you just take two horses with you.
Yeah, probably. So,
Like, Jaime has to carry Glory around with him, but he doesn't actually care.
yeah, it's a sort of unwanted addition. Yeah.
The Tywin Lannister of it all.
Yeah. What do you reckon?
They can go and see next to Blood.
Yeah. They're they're funny and they're meaningful, but we don't know much about the horses themselves, really.
Did you learn anything about the horse that changes gender
No.
across books?
Yeah, no. So there is a legend that in the Game of Thrones books, at one point, Jaime's horse changes sex. And so George was corrected by a reader, and so George then had to fix that error in future editions of the books. So like maybe the reason why we can't find the error in the books now is because it's been changed in our editions.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a few moments where we theorize and have conspiracies about every single detail in these books, and sometimes it actually is an error. Didn't that also shake up with Jane Westerling's hips?
Yeah, that's
and
one of the funny
Renly's
ones.
eye color.
Yeah, those are some of the other things that change.
And it must be so frustrating for such a detail-oriented author to like have tiny little mistakes like that would mislead readers.
Yeah, well, I think that's why George started working with Elio and Linda and T. Mickle.
Yeah.
So yeah, the mythical horse I'm not sure about, but Glory and Honor.
The mythical trans horse.
That's right. So our next
here
horse,
we go.
Let's go.
Can I mention I love this art so much?
Yeah,
it's
by
so good.
M. Louisa Gilibert. It's pretty rad. I think that's exactly what the Hound thinks he looks like when he's riding Sandor. That's how badass he wants to look in the rain with the lightning behind him.
I'm there with you, Sandor. You do look like that.
So who is the stranger?
Well, the stranger is the death aspect of the Seven, and so it's quite blasphemous to name. He called his horse Satan.
Yeah, that's pretty fun. That's pretty good.
It's pretty edgelord material.
Yeah, no, it's edgy behavior. Stranger is a heavy courser, almost as big as a destrier, black stallion, and angry.
He's an ass.
A temper.
Well, no, he's not an ass. He's a horse. We'll get to asses.
Stranger had almost bitten her face off. He was as gentle as an old gelding with his master, but otherwise he had a temper as black as he was. She had never known a horse so quick to bite or kick.
I really love that Stranger is a gentle gelding, an old gelding with the hound and a complete prick to everyone else. I'm not sure if that's George on purpose evoking Bucephalus, the horse of Alexander the Great, who was also legendarily untamable except by Alexander. But that's what it evokes.
Bucephalus. Who is Bucephalus named after?
Bucephalus? That's the horse, bro.
Yeah, I wonder where Alex got that name.
That's just the horse's name, bro.
The horse introduced himself as such?
And he named a city after the horse.
That's pretty bad.
Because he loved his horse so much.
Hell yeah.
No, it was after the horse died. He was so sad that he named the next city he founded after the horse.
Why has no one ever named a city after me?
Well, because you're not a very good horse.
Well, that's true. So, yeah, well, I love that the horse is gentle with Sandor, because the horse knows that Sandor is a softie.
Oh.
The horse understands that. I think that the stranger is the only living being who the hound would cry in front of.
So you think that Sandor and the stranger understand each other? Like, death is the only thing that Sandor can find comfort in.
Yeah, like, you know how in Discworld, how death is, like, kind of chill?
Yeah.
I think it's like that, you know? And I think that, on a darker level, like, Sandor's probably the kind of person who's not afraid of death because life is so rough for him. So it's like the idea of death being comforting for Sandor because he's such an emo boy.
Yeah.
You know, I think that makes sense.
But then later on in the story, Sandor does symbolically die, and he goes to the Quiet. He winds up on the Quiet Isle, and so does Stranger. And the brothers at the Quiet Isle rename Stranger Driftwood, which is really fun because, well, you don't need to die. You can just be a man adrift and try to rebuild.
You know what's harder than dying is living. So that's what Sandor tries to do.
It's also more hardcore, bro.
So it's pretty rad to try and
Yeah.
overcome your trauma and improve yourself as a person,
Rage
bro.
against the dying of the light, bro.
Nothing more punk rock than therapy, bro. Yeah. No, it's true. And so they have the riot of King's Landing, and the hound loses his horse in that riot.
Wow.
And this is like the first time that Sandor shows concern for any other living being, because the hound says, "Where's my horse? If anything's happened to that horse, someone's going to pay." Like the horse
so
is
sweet.
literally the only living creature who the hound shows concern and love for. And so Tyrion orders the hound to go and find someone in the riot, even though there's fire and the hound is afraid of fire. But he goes anyway, and he says, "I'll go, but not by your command. I need to find my horse."
Aww.
It's like, oh my god, he cares so much.
It's his spirit animal.
It's not like Jaime, who like refuses to name his horses and whatever. Sandor cares. He's a softie. And the hound rides the stranger in the Battle of the Blackwater, rides up onto a ship and kills a bunch of people.
Oh,
and
that's so cool.
rides out of King's Landing on Stranger. After he has his battle with Beric, Beric orders the Brotherhood to shoot the stranger with arrows if Sandor tries to follow them. But Angai says, "No, we shouldn't shoot it. That's a good horse."
Yeah, we can use that horse.
And then the hound captures Arya and rides with her, which I love because it means that Arya is riding the stranger. Arya is riding death even before she joins the Faceless Men, the Death Cult. So like Arya has that ongoing relationship with death, and Stranger is a part of that. And yeah,
She's sort of being guided on death by an authority figure she's been thrust into the arms of.
Which is exactly what Jaqen does,
Yeah.
which is kind of what Syrio does. Yeah, all of her mentors push her further on her relationship with death.
Guide her along death.
So then, as you say, like, Stranger ends up on the Quiet Isle, is renamed Driftwood, and the brothers at the Quiet Isle try to geld Stranger to make him less of a hassle. And when they tried to gild Stranger and cut off his balls,
He breaks your shins.
he kicks a guy so hard his leg breaks. and also bites off a brother's ear. This is how
Wow.
angry Stranger is.
Okay, so let's analyze the metaphor there. What does castrating death mean?
It means good nutrition and affordable healthcare to
Walkable neighborhoods.
15-minute neighborhood is the greatest defiance we can do to death.
Bite off your ear.
Yes. I think the symbolism here is that like Sandor is trying to live and to be at peace on the Quiet Isle, but the fact that Stranger is still furious and untamable shows that the rage and the violence is still there within Sandor. And so in the TV show, Sandor does come back and he goes on another rampage and fights people. I think that the fact that Stranger is still there and angry and attacking people on the Quiet Isle lends credence to the idea that Sandor will indeed go on for further fighting and further combat.
A lot of people think that Sandor's story is done, that scene on the Quiet Isle is the last we'll see of him and his story is over. But I think that Stranger being there is just refutes that idea. I think that Stranger implies that there needs to be something more. That there's still a loose end that George intends on tying up.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think if Stranger was dead, that would be a great symbol of like Sandor's anger and violence dying. But the fact that Stranger is still raging means that I think the Hound is too. So yeah, maybe he will come back. So yeah, maybe it'll be Cersei's trial where Sandor will fight.
So there are elements to Sandor's identity that are wound up in the helmet, right? The Hound helmet that gets bandied about, worn by a few different people, and so like the identity of the Hound carries on through the helmet, and like people try to adopt the ferocious attitude and the reputation that Sandor built, but the horse is still with him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not done.
Maybe the Hound will continue, but like not under the name the Hound. Like maybe he will emerge from the Quiet Isle, but he'll only call himself Sandor, or he'll call himself the angry brother, the tall brother, the burned brother.
Or maybe he'll take a vow of silence.
Yeah, like Gregor.
Yeah,
Two silent Cleganes battling it out. Yeah, I like all those ideas.
the silent brother and driftwood.
I think Stranger is S.
I think the Stranger goes in S tier.
The Stranger is just so cool and so symbolic and still has like an interesting future ahead of him. I think Stranger's S.
Go up there with the Silver Mare.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Dude, the horses in this series are so cool. What the hell?
They're so rad. I wasn't expecting them to be this rad. So, we were talking about like Arya's relationship with Sandor. At the twins, Arya gets a horse called Craven. And Craven is a sorrel palfrey mare. And she names it Craven because it seemed to have run away from the Red Wedding. And it's not like badass and angry like Stranger is.
So it's defined in opposition to Stranger.
And Arya kind of identifies with Craven a bit because she feels like the weak one in comparison with the Hound.
Yeah.
And when Arya leaves Westeros, she sells Craven. And she's kind of forced to sell Craven for less than Craven is worth. And she thinks, well, if I was the Hound, I wouldn't have been ripped off like this. I would have gotten a better price. So I think that, you know, Arya's leaving Westeros. She feels like she's a Craven by running away from Westeros.
And again, she does it by like comparing herself to the Hound. She's defining herself in terms of another person's reputation.
Yeah. Yeah. So it shows Arya's weakness and her self-hatred and her desire to be strong and badass.
More like the Hound.
Like the Hound.
But when really the Hound is a pathetic man. He's weak and sad.
Yeah, emotionally, morally, he has no control over himself.
And that's the path that Arya wants to set herself down by embracing the Stranger.
Arya's story is such like a sad, dehumanizing radicalization story, which the show mostly turned into a cool girl boss empowerment ninja story.
Ninja story.
However, I still did mostly like what they did with Arya and the Hound in season 8, episode 5.
Really?
Yeah, I think that they did the right thing. I don't think the execution was great, but I think that the idea was there. in terms of Sandor telling Arya not to become him.
Plenty of ideas were there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as I think George has said in
I
interviews,
just think
ideas are cheap, execution is
Yeah,
hard.
I think it's sort of like ridiculous that the Hound tells Arya to not become him, don't go down this path, don't embrace death. When like 3 seasons have passed, like you're saying that to her 4 seasons too late.
Yeah.
Like she's already walked the path and like circled back and come home, and now she's gonna sail off to the west and do nothing and die at sea.
It does feel like having your cake and eat it too when she like does the cool. You get the cool ninja points for flipping and killing the Night King, but you're also at the very last minute is like,
no, don't.
180. Oh, I guess I'll live. Actually, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, she's proclaimed as the hero of Winterfell, the savior of mankind for delivering everyone from the apocalypse by stabbing the ice zombie. And then, and she's only able to do that because of her experience dehumanizing herself in the death cult. And then it's like, no, you actually don't have to have been through all of that.
Yeah.
Like, what? Shut up.
Yeah, it's having your
Piss
cake
off.
and eat it too. Yeah. Yeah. No, I guess I'm with you. I do like the idea that the moment that Arya realizes she's fucked up is when she meets Stoneheart, or and sees how messed up Stoneheart is and Twisted by Vengeance.
Yeah, this is what becomes of me. Yep.
Or when Arya meets Jon and Jon doesn't recognize her and she doesn't recognize Jon.
Yeah.
Because Jon is like the one person he's like the one person who she really loves and hopes she can have a real connection with. And if that connection fails because of how much they've both changed through violence, maybe that will be what spurs her to change. Where do we rate Craven?
I like what it says, and I like what it does for Arya's story. But there's just not too much going on with Craven, is there?
Yeah, I think it's a C.
I think it's a glory, honor, Craven sort of vibe going on, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, is it even a D? Like, blood, glory, and honor are cooler than Craven.
Well, I mean, it's called Craven,
Yeah.
so I suppose so.
Yeah. So
Nothing against it though, and D tier always to me feels like I don't like you that much.
there's E and F. Like, there's 2 whole other tiers beneath.
Yeah, okay, and we're about to talk about the White Horse in the Bells, so
Well, I have mixed feelings about the White Horse. I have mixed feelings about the White Horse because we talked about the Hound telling Arya to embrace life, and like that whole you remember that whole noisy sequence where Arya's running around King's Landing while Daenerys is burning it, and there's a million explosions, and it's all a bit silly. But the point of it is that she chooses life, not death. And at the end of the episode, when she does so, she rides out on this white horse, which I think is symbolically confusing, but I think it basically represents choosing life over death and choosing rebirth. And I think that's rad. I'm happy for her. I remember watching it. I was happy for Arya. That's good. Isn't that good?
I was confused.
You were confused?
Yeah, because of the resemblance to Harry Strickland's horse earlier in the episode, the horse that exploded.
Yeah, so the leader of the Golden Company, Harry Strickland, was sitting on a white horse, and then he blew up because of Drogon. And yeah, I found it very confusing because we saw the white horse blow up, but then this other white horse appears at the end that also has like blood on it and looks a bit beat up. So it's like, is it the same white horse?
Is this a dream?
I guess it's a different
What's
white
going on
horse.
here?
And it's also confusing that it's a white horse when the pale horse represents death, biblically, I think.
Yeah.
So, like, is it death or is it life? Is it rebirth achieved through death?
And then, at the next episode, Arya's still in King's Landing.
Yeah.
And she says, oh yeah, let's kill Daenerys.
Yeah.
Like, is she... What's actually going on here thematically? I think it's a mess, actually.
Well, she recognizes a killer when she sees
I know
one,
a killer
Gladys.
when I see one.
She's still got the ashes of the burned children.
If she had only killed 498,000 people, I wouldn't be so certain. However...
Yeah, no, you're right. It is so muddled with... They just... They just tried to not make any choices. Like, they tried to just sort of do everything
Yeah.
and nothing. And also, like, there's no words in, like, any of... Like, we've
The
observed
characters
this
don't communicate
before.
any of their feelings or ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about this for literal hours in
Yeah.
the fake Jon Snow, available on nebula.tv/guidance.
So, yeah. No, season 8 bad, but Horse kind of almost meaningful
Kind of
in
almost.
a confusing way.
I'm happy. Like, you can put it in D if you want, but I will not budge beyond that.
I would like it if Arya rode off on the white horse and then never came back.
Yeah, that would be great.
That would be
much
meaningful.
prefer that.
Yeah. Because then it would also feel like there's a cost to it if she never actually farewells Jon and Bran and Sansa.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I have to leave now. And I need to never look back now.
And they think that she died in the bells.
Yeah.
And then, like, at the end of the finale episode, we actually see a shot where she is alive, but she's alone, dealing with everything.
Yeah. Just riding.
I think that, like, it's far more... It's better.
I think that fan fiction is 10 times better.
Thanks, man.
All right, whatever. Let's put it in D. Whatever, man. It's season 8.
Whatever, man. Who cares?
I think that's one of the longest sequences of Game of Thrones that has no words in it. Is the end of the bells, or well, no, it'd be the start of the finale, wouldn't it?
Oh, it's so long.
And also the end of the finale. There are so few words in the finale.
The middle of the finale.
Didn't they try to give that like an Emmy for writing? There's no writing in it.
There's no writing.
There's no writing in Game of Thrones season 8. Zorse time.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Zorse time.
Okay, so what the hell is a Zorse?
What is a Zorse?
Well, you said to me earlier off screen that you thought a Zorse was just a zebra, like ice and fire coated zebra.
Yes.
I'm here to tell you that Zorses are real.
What?
And they are a horse-zebra hybrid.
What?
With a horse father and a zebra father and a horse mother, the same way that a mule is a donkey horse hybrid.
Does it not work if the gender's the other way around?
I think it's a different thing. It still works, but it produces a different animal.
So what do you call it?
There's a Wikipedia chart you can look up if you want.
Oh, that's so interesting. Why would it be a different creature if it's born by a male,
because
female?
equine genetics be like that.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
it's the same way with Panthera hybrids, like Ligers and Tigons.
Pantheragon? Is that a Pokemon?
No, Panthera hybrid.
Panthera,
the genus of big cats.
Are you trying to say Polygon?
No.
Panthera. Okay.
Because if you have a male lion and a female tiger, it's a
Liger?
One of them, and if it's the other way around, it's the other one.
That's interesting.
Liger and Tigon.
Please make a video about this.
But there are people who actually know these things, and I'm just talking out of my donkey.
Your donkey. I
get it. Us.
All right. Okay. I get you. I get you. So in the real world, Zorses are a thing.
Yeah.
Half horse, half zebra.
Yeah.
But my question is, when George Martin is writing about Zorses in A Song of Ice and Fire, I think that he's talking about zebras.
I disagree, because in the world of Ice and Fire, which is not entirely a George R. R. Martin work, so yes, grains of salt abounding, it says that the men of the Jogos Nai breed Zorses. Well, they originally bred Zorses by breeding horses from the plains of Essos with strange horse-like creatures that live in the south of Yiti and on the island of Leng.
Oh.
Which, like, surely are zebras.
Yeah, okay.
So Zorses are a horse-zebra hybrid.
Are they a stable population of their own on the plains of Jogos Nai, though?
In the real world, Zorses are infertile.
Yeah.
They're sterile, like a mule.
Yeah.
In Ice and Fire, it sounds like they're fertile.
Yeah.
Unclear.
Which means that they are their own thing.
Yes, but they're still a horse-zebra hybrid.
They might have started from hybridization, but
Yeah.
maybe they are their own species
the same way
now.
Dragons are.
Yeah. Is a Targaryen not a
here we go.
half dragon, half human Zorse of sorts? Might you so call it a Drawse?
Are the Braxes not half human, half horse, half narwhal hybrid?
We're all half something.
We're all two half something. That's how halves work.
Polygon. It's all geometry, really.
So the concept of a Zorse is awesome.
It's awesome.
It's Zorsome.
It's Zorstastic. It's exhausting. Yeah, look, Zorses, man. Zorses.
It's all Zorses all the way down.
He
was last seen as Zorse.
last seen as Zorse. So the Jogos Nai are like these like Eastern nomadic, sort of like Mongolian coded fellas who ride Zorses. And
Yeah.
and Zorses are like angrier and harder to tame than horses. Is that does it say that?
I don't know anything about Zorse behavior, but zebras are more like that than horses are in the real world.
And where do we see Zorses in the books?
Um, underneath Vargo Hote, and there are some like exotic appearances of them in the east, in Marine, I think, and maybe Karth. They're on the walls of Karth.
What, guarding the walls?
No, depicted on the walls of.
A zebra can't even hold us. I don't think their eyesight is all. Oh no, their eyesight is probably great.
It's actually great.
I think a Zorse would be an excellent lookout.
They're plains animals who need to run away from predators at a moment's notice. Their eyesight is immaculate.
They would be great at looking out for the enemies, but when they spot them, they just run away.
It's a good warning mechanism, I suppose.
Zebras would be terrible for trench warfare.
What sort of animal would work?
Woodwork? No, the walls are made of stone.
Woodpeckers, I think,
Woodpeckers.
would work.
Well, I mean, dogs. Dogs are...
Beavers.
Dogs...
Beavers would work.
So beavers build the walls. But I mean, dogs are guard animals.
Yeah.
That's what we have them for.
That's what they're around for.
That and pat and their smushy little heads.
And they make good vacuum cleaners as well.
Yes.
When you drop some bolognese on the floor.
Bolognese. Have you let a dog eat bolognese off your floor?
Not recently.
Not recently.
I don't have a dog. I have a bear.
How is Bear?
He doesn't have any teeth. He's all
No
toothed out.
teeth?
Yeah.
How's Bear coping with that?
He's great. He loves it.
Nice.
Can't bite me anymore.
He can gum you.
Yeah. It feels really weird, let me tell you.
Zorses are described as fierce and foul-tempered in the books, so that is a real zebra characteristic that carries across to the Zorses. So we see a Zorse being ridden by Vargo Hote.
A Zorse of Ice and Fire.
Because Vargo Hote is a book only character who leads the Brave Companions, or the Bloody Mummers, who are a bunch of evil freaks.
Book only, isn't he? That's so sad.
Well, they took out all the fun characters.
Replaced it with Locke.
Oh my god. Like, can you imagine asking someone who's watched Game of Thrones and hasn't read the books, remember Locke? Who's your favorite? Oh, my favorite character is Locke from
Locke.
Game of Thrones.
With an E.
Do you think anyone has ever said that?
I think that's a brand new sentence.
Oh my god. So yeah, I think
I actually don't mind Locke. I think he's like a fun sort of combination. Like, I wish they didn't roll all those characters into a new guy, but it's a fun way that they did it.
Yeah, I don't hate Locke. I hate the plots that he's in.
Yeah.
And the show that he's in. And the writers who wrote him. But Locke's fine.
What did Brian Cogman ever do?
Did he write that one? Was Cogman
I'm
writing...
sure he wrote some of them.
So, Brave Companions be crazy, and they're all flamboyant and colourful. One of them's a jester murderer. One of them's Qyburn the Necromancer. One of them's Zolo the Fat. They're a colourful bunch.
Wow.
Whoa, a jinx. And so I guess that's why Vargo rides a Zorse, because he's like, I just like having some swag in my life. And Vargo gets eaten by himself, I think. That's what the mountain does to him. What happened to the Zorse?
I actually don't know. What happened to the Zorse?
What happened to the Zorse? I don't know what happened to the Zorse.
We don't know.
I would like to know what happened to the Zorse.
Oh, that's a mystery.
That's
we
a
don't
mystery.
Know. I thought you were going to drop some lore on me, but no, we don't know.
I would like to find out.
Huh.
There's a zebra loose in Westeros, and I mean to get to the bottom of it.
You know how Arya's direwolf Nymeria starts leading a wolf pack in the Riverlands? What if...
A pack of zebras.
Casterly Rock falls to a herd of zebras.
Ever heard of a zebra shifter? Like a were zebra?
Oh, yeah.
If you get bitten by a Zorse at midnight, you turn into a were zebra. A were Zorse. Fearsome were Zorse. So they're black and white to like camouflage in grass, is that it?
Yeah.
Are their predators colorblind?
I think the effect is more that it's difficult, because they're herd animals, it's difficult to tell where one ends and one begins when they're striped like that.
Yeah, right. They just look like a big confusing mess of black and white lines.
They sort of do blend into the swaying grass. Because the grass isn't like green, it's like yellow, pale, you know.
It's just kind of amazing that nature and evolution can produce what is effectively a barcode horse, you know?
It's crazy, yeah.
Like just like a pinstriped hoof boy, you know? Like just a big old just a big fella with all the stripes. It's amazing.
And then like zebra fish exists as well. Like nature was like, you know that thing we did up on land with the horses? I'm gonna do it again. Just so you fucking watch me.
I mean, nature, just like George R. R. Martin, repeats itself constantly.
Yeah.
It's really it's just variations on the same handful of themes, just iterated upon a trillion times.
It's like I've always said, it's Zorses all the way down.
It's exhausting.
So let's rank the Zorse. Where do you think the Zorse... I mean, like, S tier on Aura alone.
Yeah,
but we should probably...
Look, I don't even care. It's S. Like, it's a Zorse. Like, get out of here. It's a stripy boy.
But while we're talking about horses that aren't exactly horses, I think now's the time to talk about donkeys and asses and mules.
Mule corner. Ass hour. Donkey zone. Enlighten us, Gliders.
It's always the ass hour with us.
Ass hour never stops.
So mules are heavily associated with the Giant's Lance and the Road to the Eyrie because, you know, you would need a pack animal to do all of that. So a lot of the time we hear about mules.
Because that's that scary mountain path that Sansa and Catelyn have to go up to the Eyrie.
That's right, and Maya Stone helps you out with her mules. So yeah, lots of mules going around the Eyrie.
One of those mules is named Whitey, I believe.
Wow.
I know.
Mule, by the way, just to clear up, is a horse-donkey hybrid, but I think most people would know that. But then donkeys. Donkeys appear in The Song of Ice and Fire from time to time. And something I noticed, a strange trend in donkey usage, is that Maester Luwin rides a donkey in Bran 5, A Game of Thrones. So when Bran gets Dancer, I think. Mm. Oh no, is that when Robb is riding off to war? I can't remember. And also Maester Calliote rides a donkey in which one is it? The Captain of the Guards chapter?
Which one's... Oh, Calliote is
the Sunspear Maester.
Yeah.
So George likes putting maesters on donkeys.
And he likes putting eggs on maesters.
Exactly, because
what's going on?
Egg's steed in the Duncan Egg books is a mule, which is a half donkey named Maester, because it was given to him by his brother Aemon, who was training at the Citadel, to become a maester.
Huh.
And Egg himself is sort of half scholar, half king, the way that a mule is half donkey, which is maester coded in A Song of Ice and Fire, and half horse, which are like the king of the equines.
That's some deep symbolism, Glidus.
I'm pretty sure it's
representing
completely
a hybrid
unintentional.
identity.
Yeah. So that's fun.
Is an ass a donkey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yoren's recruits ride donkeys up the King's Road. Arya laments that she has to ride a fucking donkey, and when she gets Craven, she's like, "Well, at least it's not a donkey." Pate thinks of a donkey as his way out of the Citadel, out of his rut, his access to freedom, and it's a part of his dream with Rosie. You know, Pate, the acolyte at the Citadel in the prologue.
So his highest ambition is
to
not
get
a horse, but a donkey.
Yeah.
Like that's how humble he is.
Everything I'm thinking in that chapter is, man, this guy's got a dream bigger.
Yeah. Well, look, that's like class consciousness, man. He just can't imagine bigger than a donkey because he's lower class.
Yeah, Pate, all you have to lose is your chains. You could get a Zorse if you wanted. Maribold leads a donkey in the Brienne chapters.
Yeah. So donkeys are associated with humility. Maybe there's some kind
absolutely.
of cultural convention where maesters are expected to ride donkeys, not horses, because maesters are expected to be humble and not proud.
And in that same vein, when Baelor the Blessed rescues Aemon the Dragon Knight from his captors in Will, the House Will of Will in Dawn, he drags Aemon through the Dornish mountains until he's given some clothes and a donkey by a village Septon in the Dornish mountains. So there's the Septon king, the Christ-like figure of Song of Ice and Fire's history, is riding a donkey with his rescued cousin, the valorous knight, on his back. So that's humility to the extreme.
Yeah, that's lovely. That's powerful.
Donkey moment.
Donkeys is humility.
Yeah, and Cersei thinks that replacing Tywin Lannister with Orton Merryweather was like replacing a Destria with a donkey. And that's all the donkey moments I thought were notable.
I wonder what other donkey moments we might encounter in the future. Who else is going to be humble? I mean, maybe Theon will ride a donkey.
Maybe
you know?
Samwell will ride a donkey
Yeah.
because he's becoming a maester.
Yeah. Maybe Jon Snow will ride a donkey into exile in the end. A half-blind Garen,
Donkey.
perhaps. Can a donkey be a Garen?
Probably not.
I think all the terms are pretty fluid.
Yeah, maybe. And on the topic of equine hybrids, I just want to say, like, this is actually not relevant to Ice and Fire at all, but I want to share. I like sharing with you all. Horses evolved in, well, like, they were exclusive to North America for a long time until they came across the Bering Land Bridge and were made extinct in North America, probably by humans.
Horses were exclusive to North America?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the research shows that horses evolved in North America.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then they were made extinct in North America, maybe by human arrival.
Huh.
But they were alive in Eurasia at the time, and North Africa slightly limited. But before the domesticated horse was brought to like the cradle of civilization in Mesopotamia, they actually rode a domesticate. So donkeys were domesticated there before the horse was brought there from the Pontic steppe, slightly to the north. And the Sumerians bred a hybrid of the domesticated donkey and the Syrian wild ass to produce a super donkey.
What?
That was better for riding, like in combat and just around.
A combat donkey?
Yeah. But then the domesticated horse showed up in the region, and it was like just so much easier because he didn't have to like hybridize.
Is the super donkey still around?
I don't think so, no. What was it called? I didn't write it down. It starts with a K, everyone.
I'm still processing the idea that horses originated in North America and then went extinct there. Like, I wonder what an alternate world we might live in if horses hadn't gone extinct in North America. I wonder how that might have altered history.
It's crazy, bro. Yeah. Horses were brought back to North America after the Columbian Exchange.
Wow.
Yeah. What were these things called? Kunga. Kungas.
That was the super donkey. In where? Sumeria?
Yeah, Sumer.
Sumer?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
I probably just spread so much misinformation, but it was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe double check, but that does sound rad.
Yeah, I like to post an errata comment in these live streams, so if I get stuff wrong, I'll double check and let you all know.
I want to learn more now.
Isn't learning fun?
I want to learn more about the super donkey. And unlike the plains of the Jurgos Nye, it's real.
It's real, damn it.
Or it was real.
Do you want to talk about Maester now that I've talked about donkeys?
Well, I mean, Maester is best boy.
True.
Like, we shouldn't have put anything else in S because Maester deserves a tier.
We're going to need to make a new tier.
Of himself. So yeah, as you said, Duncan Egg get Maester. That was Equine Corner with Glidus, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We should do this every stream.
So
you did your little research document on your fictional horses for some reason, and I was over here learning about real world non-horses.
Yeah, I'm going to be real. Your research was a lot cooler than mine. I'm glad that I didn't have to follow that.
Nice.
Because I was just starting with colts and fillies, and you're dropping super donkeys of Sumeria over here. Like, are you kidding?
I can't follow that. Book.
Super donkeys of Sumeria.
Would you read it? Would you buy that? Would you get that 5 stars on Goodreads?
I would buy 10 copies. Please write that.
And leave them in hotel rooms like a nerdy Gideon Bible.
It's a New Testament just dropped. Wake up, babe. Gliders just published Super Donkeys of Sumeria. Yeah, so like you said, Maester is a mule who...
Shown here wearing the same hat as Egg.
Yeah, they have matching floppy straw hats. And
adorable.
It's kind of a confusing timeline because...
the horses... The equine diagram required to understand the story of Duncan Egg is honestly so overwhelming.
Yeah, it's funny that, like, you know, as we've counted in the entirety of the main A Song of Ice and Fire books, there's about like 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's like 10 significant horses
10
in the main A Song of Ice and Fire.
relevant
books.
named horses that you might want to keep track of. Yeah.
And that's over 5 very long novels. Whereas in the 3 very short Duncan Egg novellas, there's like at least 6 very important horses. Like I can't stress enough how logistically, emotionally, and economically significant these 6 horses or 5 horses and one mule.
So 5.5 horses.
And like the timeline of these horses.
It's all over the place. It's such a mess.
You ever see those like timelines on Wikipedia of like rock bands that
Yes.
shows
Oh,
like
those
the
are my favorite.
personnel charts?
Yeah, like the drummer dropping off and then coming back in after he's gone through rehab and then picks up the guitar later on.
Yeah, exactly.
And also he's doing backing vocals and the little bar that's colored. Oh, it's so good. I love those graphs so much.
Wonderful Wikipedia bar graphs to show who is a member of which band at which time. And we should make one of those
For the horses.
of Duncan Egg. Because all right, so basically like at the start of the first Duncan Egg story. And by the way, they're making a TV show of this that's coming out this year.
Oh yeah, we're going to see Chestnut and Thunder and Rain. Oh my god.
Horsewatch. All I care about is Horsewatch. I want to spot all our favorite horses.
I get to see the little egg boy on a mule.
With a hat. Literally, my only criterion for whether I like the new show A Night of the Seven Kingdoms or not is whether or not Maester wears a hat. If Maester wears a floppy straw hat, it's an instant 10 out of 10 for me. And if it does not, it's an instant 0 out of 10. So the way the Duncan Egg stories start in the Hedge Knight is that Dunk is a squire for a knight called Arlen. And Arlen has three horses.
Count them, 3.
Thunder is the big war horse for jousting. And Sweetfoot is the nice riding palfrey. And Chestnut is the useless sway-backed stot who Dunk rides. And so when Arlen dies, Dunk takes possession of these 3 horses. And so then he wants to go to the tourney at Ashford.
He's a single father of 3, my goodness.
Right? And so Dunk ends up selling the horse Sweetfoot to Henley, who's a guy whose name you definitely need to know. And then Dunk rides Thunder against Aerion Targaryen and wins, and Thunder totally saves Dunk's ass. And then he takes Egg on his journeys with him, and he insists that Egg ride Chestnut. And he'll ride my stot, says Dunk. And so like Chestnut is part of teaching Egg humility. So again, that humility idea. But then off screen, in between the Hedge Knight and the Sworn Sword, Dunk and Egg go to Dawn, and they visit Maester Aemon
in Old Town,
and they have all these adventures. And then Chestnut dies in Dawn, and it's really sad because Dunk wants to bury Chestnut because he loves Chestnut,
but they
he
won't
can't
let him
because they're in the sand. And then Chestnut gets eaten by the sand dogs, and it's this whole traumatic thing, and it's all horse based. And so and also that's when Dunk and Egg get Maester, who wears a floppy straw hat like Egg. And then in the Sworn Sword, Dunk rides Thunder against Lucas Longinch and wins because Thunder's a badass. Thunder kicks Sir Lucas in the face, which is great. And then, for resolving the situation, Rohan Weber tries to give Dunk a horse named Flame. And Flame is beautiful and red, like Rohan. But Dunk refuses, because humility, again, and takes Rohan's braid instead, which is coloured red like Flame.
It's also a Lord of the Rings moment.
And so Dunk refuses Flame, but Egg accepts a horse named Rain from Rohan. It was going to be Rain and Flame. So Dunk, are you following? Because there'll be a test at the end. So Dunk refuses Flame, but then Rain goes to Egg, and then at the Mystery Night, Dunk gets defeated.
Oh, the ransom! Oh my god, it keeps going. It never ends.
And so Dunk loses possession of Thunder and has to figure out, well, how are we gonna? And he's like, maybe I should ride Sweetfoot and you can ride Rain, but no. And then, but at the end, he buys back Thunder, so he gets back possession of Thunder. So at the end of the Dunk and Egg stories, Chestnut is dead, Sweetfoot is stolen, Flame is rejected, but Thunder and Rain are the 2 that they have. But Maester the Mule is back at Egg's family's place, I think. So I think that they have Thunder and they have Rain, which is such a great combination, isn't it? Thunder and Rain, because the thunder comes before the rain. So that is my attempt at the complete horse timeline of Dunk and Egg.
All right, do you need to sit down?
I need to have a nap. That was a lot.
What great books, though.
But that's the point, is that like Dunk and Egg is about what it's like to be a knight on like a very like day-to-day level. Like Dunk and Egg is not as epic in scale or high in stakes. And so you just find out that knighthood isn't all like adventures and heroics. It's mostly
It's horse logistics.
It's horse logistics, it's horse economics. You need somewhere to park your horse, you need to upkeep your horse, you need to maybe upgrade your horse.
You need to worry about your horse getting stolen.
It's all horses, because, quote, a knight without a horse was no knight at all.
Absolutely.
So, how do you feel about these horses?
There's a lot of complex feelings going on here.
Yeah, we're really just scratching the surface. Thunder is a big brown stallion, big warhorse.
Dunk thinks we are one. Man, horse, lance, we are one beast of blood and wood and iron.
Hell
and
yeah.
like, that's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that deep connection. And, I don't think, we don't need to speculate about skin changes. It's just like a deep connection between animal and man, which is rad. And that's right before Thunder saves Dunk's ass against Prince Aerion.
Yeah.
Chestnut is kind of useless, but they love him anyway.
Its name's Chestnut. What's not to love?
Arlen always said that a knight should never love a horse, since more than a few were like to die under him. But Arlen never heeded his own counsel either.
Aww.
Dunk had often seen him spend his last copper on an apple for old Chestnut,
That is so sweet.
or some oats for Sweetfoot and Thunder. The palfrey had been Sir Arlen's riding horse, and she had borne him tirelessly over thousands of miles, all up and down the Seven Kingdoms. It's lovely.
Of course you'd grow attached.
And yeah,
Because horses are like... I don't think we've talked about this, but horses are lovely animals. They're like... Of course you would get attached to them over years of usage and accompanying them.
there's a line in Douglas Adams, I think in Dirk Gently, about the electric monk, where it talks about how it's entirely possible to sit on an animal like a horse for months upon months and never think once about it or how it's feeling. But it's very difficult to be sat upon for months and months without having any thoughts or feelings about the person sitting on you. Horses, man.
Horses. Douglas Adams. Dirk Gently. I need to reread those. It's been so long.
Yeah, someone told me that the Dirk Gently TV show
Never watched
that
it.
came out is good. I can't imagine what a Dirk Gently show would be like, but maybe I should.
Maybe we
check
should
it
watch
out.
it together and talk about it on the live stream that no one cares about.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the hard-hitting analysis that they really want to see.
Which is ranking
It's
horses.
no horse corner. So yeah, there's some really like sad, traumatic dreams and nightmares that Dunk has about the death of Chestnut, which is just so endearing that he cares this much about this horse. But the horse is so important to a knight, so of course he does.
Yeah.
And yeah, Maester is adorable. Egg cuts holes in the hat so that Maester's ears can poke through the hat,
Which is adorable.
which is just amazing. And yeah, Flame is incredibly beautiful. Rohan suggests that Flame could be named Amends to like apologize for the situation that she put Dunk in. But
He refuses.
Dunk says she's too good a horse for me, too humble.
It's also saying that Rohan's too good for him.
Yeah, because they want each other, but they can't have each other
Yeah.
because class.
And he's got shit to do. He's got to go do 12 more novellas.
And I think on some level, like Dunk embodies like the heroism and the nobility of the lower class,
Of the common man.
Yeah, and like part of George's thesis is that power and status destroys you. And so I think in a way, like Dunk, if given the opportunity to be a nobleman or whatever, he would refuse. Like he has some intuition that who he is who he should be.
I think that potential future novellas will pose Dunk with that question, and he will respond in... I mean, we know Dunk's ending, so we know that he doesn't become a nobleman, and I think that question will be posed to him at some point.
Yeah, and I think that like the virtue and the nobility of Dunk's humility continues.
The nobility of humility?
The humility, nobility is abilities. I didn't have enough coffee. And I think that
doesn't rhyme.
The fact that Duncan the Small is named after Duncan the Tall is a testament to how the whole Targaryen royal family at that time values and admires Dunk's humility. So in the same way that like Dunk teaches humility to Egg with Chestnut, I think that Dunk tries to teach humility to the Targaryens. Does he succeed in the end? I think those are some of the questions that the Dunk and Egg series will ask if it continues in some form, whether novellas or TV shows, who knows.
Let's put all of these horses in place and then get to the meme category.
Thunder is rad.
I think, yeah.
Thunder wins the battle against Aerion, wins the battle against Lucas Longinch, gets beaten by Uthor, but Uthor's a dick. I think it's an A tier horse.
A tier?
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, okay, yes, now comparing it with the ones in S tier, I'm happy with that.
It's no Silver Mare, it's no Stranger.
Yeah. It's no Zorse.
It's no Zorse, but he's pretty good. I think Thunder's male.
I do like that half of the horses in S tier are not horses.
Yeah, well, exceptions are interesting, aren't they?
Yeah.
Chestnut is so beloved of Dunk. We don't really know much about Chestnut.
Chestnut is like the dead anime wife. Like,
yeah. Chestnut got fridged.
Yeah.
Chestnut got fridged. And Chestnut is effective in that way, but is not like super... We don't know much about Chestnut.
Not very kind. The Ashara Dane of horses.
Truly. B?
Sure. Just because I value Dunk's love of Chestnut.
Sweetfoot, I feel like, is like a C because like we do have sentimentality about Sweetfoot, but Sweetfoot gets sold really early.
Yeah.
And we never really get to see Sweetfoot's personality. So yeah, C.
Well, that's sort of the same story as Craven. And I think Craven says more about Arya than Sweetfoot does about Arlen and Dunk, so I'm contesting all of that placement.
So D, do you reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Flame.
Again, like, Flame is bandied about as a transactional thing. Like, it's metaphorical, obviously, but it's...
She was magnificent, a better mount than any the old man had ever owned. You had only to look at those long, clean limbs to see how swift she'd be. I bred her for beauty and for speed. She was magnificent. A blood bay with a bright eye and a long, fiery mane. Is Dunk even looking at the horse at this point?
Yeah,
or is he looking at Rohan?
Yeah.
B. I think it's a cool description.
It's a pretty horny description of a horse.
It is a very horny description of a horse. The sexual tension in this scene between Rohan and Dunk is off the charts.
Like, people worry about George, the way George writes about incest, but I'm thinking we need to redirect our concerns.
My goodness. If he was related to a horse, it'd be stand back.
Rain.
We don't really know anything about Rain.
No, we don't.
It's a good name because, like, the Swan Sword is about the drought that creates this political conflict.
Yeah.
And so the rain after the drought is relief. And the rain connection with the thunder.
It's very cool.
Dunk rides. There's some neat symbolism that he's doing there. And also, you control a horse with reins.
Oh, yeah.
So there's at least
an
three...
egg later on reigns as king. Because he becomes the king.
That's like a quadruple meaning.
Yeah, that earns it B tier at least.
Hell yeah. I did. Yeah, hell yeah. I love it. Horse puns. All right.
Now, what everyone came here for.
The meme round. How to explain this one?
If you're new here, Tyrek Lannister is a child who is something thin line to inherit Casterly Rock, and he turned into a horse. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, he mysteriously disappears, and he was last seen a horse.
Yeah. Adam Marbrand, in that same chapter where Jaime... Oh, I didn't talk about this. Jaime describes a sinful horse because Adam Marbrand says that the signs... what is it? Yes, that's right. Nymeria's wolf pack is terrorizing the Riverlands, and the horses get caught in the crossfire. And Adam Marbrand says that these are demons in the skins of wolves sent to chastise us for our sins, while describing a horse corpse that's in front of them.
Boniface Hasty, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's Boniface Hasty who says that. Adam Marbrand's a part of the scene around that though. And Jaime says that this must have been an uncommonly sinful horse. Which, maybe that horse did do the war crimes that we were accusing Drogo's horse of.
What sins would a horse commit?
Adultery. Envy.
Gluttonously eating
Sloth?
too much hay. Did you just say sloth?
Sloth.
Not sloth?
Three-toed sloth.
Three-toed sloth? Yeah, no, I like that line as well. I think that's very fun. I think that horses are very sinful creatures, and if only they had opposable thumbs, they would commit all manner of crimes.
Galactic Archive in the chat says pride. I think a horse can definitely be prideful.
When it's like, what do you call it?
What do you mean?
When it like stands on its back, it rears.
When it rears,
When
like
it
in the
rears
Napoleon
with
painting.
pride.
Yeah.
That's right. I was trying to look up like what are the most iconic paintings of horses to use as like the default horse image for these images. And I settled on this painting by George Stubbs, but I like the Napoleon one, and I now know, yeah, the Napoleon one is also one of the most iconic horse paintings.
Of course.
But yeah, I did go down a little bit of horse art history.
Fantastic. I went through dragon art history recently.
Oh,
Yeah.
That was a rad video about all the legs.
Oh, thank you.
I personally think dragons should have 5 legs, but that's just me.
I think that a dragon with fewer than 6 legs ought to just go back in the oven.
Yeah. Give it a little.
Not done yet.
Yeah. So there's all. I mean, the White Walkers ride horses.
Yeah, we should probably talk about that because that's cool as all get out.
How old are those dead horses?
Yeah.
How long have the White Walkers been riding those horses? Because if the Long Night was 6,000 years ago, is that a 6,000-year-old horse corpse? That's upsetting.
Of course it's a horse corpse.
Of course it's a horse corpse. Wearing jorts.
Would a horse wear jorts? Hang on.
On its front or its back?
Or both, because it's got 4 legs.
Hodor is Bran's horse.
True.
Rickon might ride a unicorn. But that's just silly. I think that Tyrek is the most important horse, and I think he's S tier.
We don't know much about this horse,
No, we don't.
except that he's in line to inherit Casterly Rock.
Do you subscribe to the theory that Varys and Illyrio probably have Tyrek?
The thing is, I've spent so long memeing on this character that I haven't even thought about what's actually going on.
He's in Varys' stable.
Yeah. Look, he's disappeared somewhere, and it makes... Like, the two people who collect children in this series are Varys and Littlefinger. So it's one of them.
Yeah.
And, like, we have tabs on Littlefinger. If Tyrek was in Littlefinger's control, you'd, like... he couldn't hide it from Elaine for that long, right?
Varys and Illyrio collected Jorah and
Yeah.
Barristan, so why not
And,
Tyrek?
Daenerys and Viserys
Yeah.
and Aegon.
Politically important blondes are like their favorite gender.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Varys and Illyrio keep collecting heirs to places.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's in the stable.
Yeah.
He's in Varys' stable. I like that idea. He's probably being very well fed on the finest of hay.
The occasional apple, oats, sunflower seeds.
And I put Tylan Lannister in here
Feed sunflower seeds. Yeah.
because there is that joke in Hot Day Season 2 where Aegon tells Tylan to let Prince Jaehaerys ride him like a horse.
What a magnificent steed he would be.
And Tylan Lannister sounds like Tyrek Lannister. So I think that there's a possibility that the Hot Day Riders are referencing Gladys's
There's
horse
a
meme.
non-zero chance. I would say it's an exceedingly small non-zero chance, and that it could just be a silly little joke they put in because it's fun to see Aegon and Jaehaerys interacting with this in this way by bullying Tyland. But it could, you never know.
And one of the riders follows you on Twitter, so it's possible.
Oh, jeez.
So that's an S plus theory, I think.
Just because I made it into HBO.
You find didn't we yeah, that's how you know you've made it, is when you ruin the thing that you're a
Yeah.
fan of by being in it. Ed Sheeran did the same thing, you know.
Does he like Game of Thrones?
Did he know he was on TV, do you think, or did he think that was a concept for Maisie?
I thought that was like they were LARPing. He was invited to LARP in the woods with some friends, and then Maisie Williams just showed up.
He just does that. He just likes
Yeah.
singing in the
Can we
woods.
talk about how misplaced Hands of Gold is in that scene? Like, why is he singing Hands of Gold in that scene?
Yeah, that's so much meaning to like Tyrion's
So
relationship
dumb.
with Tywin and Shay, but it's just like he's just singing it like it's a bop.
Like, it's a summertime jam.
He should have just sung an Ed Sheeran song.
Shape of You.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be so much funny.
That sounds like a joke I would have made in my season 7 videos, but I didn't.
Yeah, that'd be a fun edit, but then you'd get copyright claimed.
Oh yeah, not enough of that going on.
Yeah, YouTube's way too lenient with you. What about all those covers that you do? Does YouTube...
Oh, they all get copyright claimed, but there's like a system for cover songs where it shares revenue with the actual owners of
What
the rights.
percentage?
Oh, it's probably 90-10 to them. I don't actually know.
They don't tell you.
Yeah.
That's fun. I love making deals where you don't know the terms of the deal.
Yeah, it's great. I love YouTube. And that's why I'm actually releasing those covers as an album on all major streaming platforms soon. So
Hell
that's
yeah.
fun. Yeah.
On the Beggar King?
Yeah, so follow the Beggar King on Spotify, I guess.
Follow
what
the
a
Beggar
what
King
an
on Spotify.
incidental segue into a thing I'm doing.
What a perfectly elegant plug I just
Well
delivered.
done. One of the most elegant plugs, like a golden faucet.
I pride myself on my elegant plugs.
Hey, we
Hi.
talked. No, I mean like for horses.
Nay.
Oh, we talked about all of the relevant horses. There are a few horses that we didn't talk about. Like I think there's Wrath that we didn't. Who rides
Stephen
Wrath?
Fossaway's horse.
Yeah, that's right.
We just said every fact about Wrath.
Yeah, that's it. It's Stephen Fossaway's.
We just did
horse.
it.
Yep.
Beat it.
I like talking about the Fossaways. It's a cool little family thing they've got going on there.
I think we covered all of the significant horses.
Yeah.
Oh, the Stolen Show in the live chat points out Luthor Tyrell's horse that rode him off a cliff and killed him.
That is a narratively significant horse. I will afford that.
Glitch Crown points out the horse that fell on Ned and broke Ned's leg.
Glitched crown? Like when I go, oh my god, in The Binding of Isaac?
Glitch Crown spelt with a K, so maybe not the same.
Maybe
kind of
not the
crown.
same one.
Maybe not. Not everything is a Binding of Isaac reference, but
I
I
don't know
assume
why.
most things.
Yeah,
are.
most things,
Most things
yeah.
are. So should we respond to some super chats?
I would love
donations?
to, but my bladder is bursting at the seams.
The seams.
Does your bladder not have seams?
Did you have to stitch your bladder back up after some kind of bladder-based explosion? All right. Well, while Glidus relieves his bladder seams, I'm going to have a look at some of your kind donations and super chats. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Thank you so much for donating. Glad to be talking silly things with y'all. Okay, so thank you for the super chat from Mike Trujillo, who says Daenerys Lizard Bran Mafia. Are you trying to say Lizard Brain or are you trying to say Lizard Bran? I'm not sure. Thank you, Will, who says, hello, Dr. Schwiftel and Mr. Glide. What is your favorite house that has a member of the Gallowanserae, ducks and geese and stuff, on their sigil? House Swan, House Duckfield, House Cargill, or House Swift? You're welcome, Glidus, for the daily taxonomy fix. Glidus,
Taxonomy fist. I'll punch you with my platypus facts.
that's a different stream. We've got a quacking, honking based question here.
Fantastic.
Glidus. They want to know if we prefer House Swan, Duckfield, Cargill, or Swift.
So Duckfield is so great because they wear it on their sleeves. Duckfield. Swan also similar. Cargill, like that's great for them. I'm really happy for the Cargills.
The twins.
House Swift, I'm not that I'm not that fussed.
Doesn't Cersei say that Dorna Swift looks like a chicken?
Well, perhaps she's correct.
And Duckfield is Rolly Duckfield.
Yes.
Which is an awesome name.
What a great name. But swans are such great birds. And I love the sigil of the black and white swans facing each other. Is that the House Swan sigil? I think so.
What has House Swan ever done though? Like Balon Swan?
Yeah, they're pretty much completely irrelevant house, but conceptually.
I'm putting my vote on Duckfield because I just can't go past a quack.
And I do really love the Cargills in House of the Dragon.
Yeah, no, they're pretty powerful. I like that. Yeah, their deaths. I remember our reaction to their death scene. Like that was
Yeah.
powerful at the time. Like there's so many like pointless fight scenes in Game of Thrones and in many shows that to see a fight scene that actually feels meaningful and visceral is like, whoa. Thank you, Count Balerion of House Tatters. Thank you, John Braxton Brewer, who says, Schwift, I'm on Abandon's Gate. Thank you for the recommendation. I think you're referring to Abaddon's Gate, which is
Binding of Isaac reference.
which is in the Expanse books. Yeah, I think Abaddon's Gate might be my favorite Expanse book. It's one of those tricky series to recommend because it's like 9 books long, and I feel like it gets really good around book 5. You know, people always tell me about the Wheel of Time. They're like, "Oh, you should read the Wheel of Time. It gets really good, like 1 million words in." And then it gets bad again, about 2 million words in. And I'm like, I don't have time for that.
There's a limited amount of words I can read in my life.
John says, Glidus, I love your musical talents.
Thank you.
Much love always. Thank you, Disco Grass, who says, hey fellas, doing the Valyrian Duolingo and got the question, are you a horse?
What? There's no way. Like, Duolingo does that sort of thing for all languages. Like, it comes up with these silly questions. There's no way. Leave me alone. It can't possibly be.
Either we're being gaslighted, or David J. Peterson put your meme into the Valyrian Duolingo.
Don't think that he's on the daily operations of the Duolingo Valyrian course.
Well, who do you think wrote it?
He's too busy managing a Discord server.
Who wrote the Valyrian language?
I'm sure he
Duolingo, if not for him.
I'm sure he had a role in the beginning of it, but it's been around longer than I've been making those jokes.
Thank you, My Age, who says, where does the stallion that mounts the world rank?
That is a good point.
I mean, the stallion that mounts the world is a hypothetical prophecy figure who could refer to Rhaego, could refer to Daenerys, could refer to Drogon.
Well, as we discussed earlier, dragons may be horses.
Yeah, no one says they're not. I mean, we don't know what that prophecy means.
Can you pedicure a dragon? Yeah, surely.
Thank you, the Booty Bamboozler.
But you can't manicure... No, they have, like, the claws on the end of their wings.
Yeah, you can manicure those claws. Although does the book describe the claws?
The book doesn't. I don't think so.
The book does talk about dragon claws, but I don't know if the book specifically talks about claws at the ends of the wings, the thumbs.
The analogous, ends of fingers. Phalanges.
Booty Bamboozler, what did you just call me? Says, hey, and was watching fake A Song of Ice and Fire theories for the 8th time.
What a great video.
Thanks for all of the tangentially ASOIAF related content.
That's what we're here for.
Thank you, Panda's Thumb, who says, I'm a biology PhD candidate.
Oh god, that's terrifying.
And I love when Glider starts talking taxonomy.
Oh no.
Can you quickly rank some camelids? Quick, camels, llama, vicuna, and alpaca.
They're all great. I love them all.
What is vicuna?
I actually don't know.
Vicuna.
But I love it.
Alright, do you want to read that? What? Well, hang on. Are you going to rank them?
They're all great. That's it. That's all I can do. I'm
all
sorry.
Equally great?
Camels are fantastic. Do you know which country has the largest camel population?
Australia.
It's Australia.
Yeah.
Even though they are not native to Australia at all.
What's that car meme? This baby can fit so many camelids in there. We just got a lot of space for camelids, I think, you know?
The environment's fantastic for them.
Yeah, so vicunas, they look a lot like alpacas to me, if I'm being real. They look pretty cute.
Oh, they're camelids.
Vicuna. Okay, so
I do
mother...
love, the old word for giraffe, camel leopard.
Camel leopard?
Yeah, because they're like spotted camel-like thing. Like, if you're an ancient Greek writer and you see a giraffe, what frame of reference do you have to assess? It's like why hippopotamuses are called river horses.
Hell yeah. Very, very wide horses, but yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mother Nix, who says, I'm making A Song of Ice and Fire homebrew.
Awesome. Do you like Hippocrates or D&D?
Would it be a good idea to send it for your enjoyment, or would it be painful to send A Song of Ice and Fire for your free time enjoyment? Thank you for the years of joy. That sounds rad. And if you want to share it, I'm sure people would enjoy it. I personally don't have a large enough P.O. box for such things. But that sounds rad as hell. Well, yeah, I'm assuming there's like a D&D thing?
Yeah. Make it known. Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Wumpini Fusellini. I
You love inserting L's.
Yeah,
don't
I
you?
really do.
You love making people
'Cause
take the L.
I have definitely mispronounced Wumpini Fusini before. And I always mispronounce it Wumpini Fusellini. Hey, Globlerin and Schwellaria, would you say the hound's voice is always so raspy because he's always horse? See, we were trying to think of horse puns, and
Awful.
that's like the top of the
That's
list.
Really terrible. Thank you.
Thank you, Davey Huang Zero, who says, "Hi Glidus, your crow versus raven taxonomical factoids from a previous stream blew my mind. Got any evolutionary biology factoids about horses?"
Well, I hope that throughout the course of the stream I did satisfy you because, yeah. I don't recall discussing crow and raven taxonomy. I'm terrified by the prospect that I've done that and don't remember it, but the original meaning of the word factoid means fact that sounds true but isn't, so I hope that that's an inaccurate description.
Wouldn't it be funny if that factoid about a factoid was itself a factoid?
I would love that, yes. And perhaps it is.
Davey, did you miss the part about the super donkey? Thank you, Galet de Susiftex, who says, "Dear Glimblclop and Schwarz, love."
Oh, thank you. Darth Swiftier says, "Do you prefer Link, a horse or a wolf?" I believe this refers to Link of Rhett and Link from YouTube. No, it refers to Link from Zelda.
Does Link from Zelda ride a wolf?
He becomes a wolf.
He becomes a wolf.
Yeah,
In which one?
Twilight Princess.
I actually have never finished a Zelda game. I've barely played any Zelda games.
Wow, not even the CDI ones?
What's CDI?
The Philips CDI was a CD-based console in the, I believe, late 90s, maybe even mid-90s. It was by Philips. It was a competitor to Nintendo and PlayStation.
Well, I suppose I did ask,
And
didn't
like
I?
all of it's the source of a lot of great memes.
Blaine says, "I'm getting married next week, and Sweet and Tender is on our dance playlist."
Wow.
Is that a Materia song?
You know it is.
Yeah, well, I wanted you to say so.
Yes, it's a Materia song. It's a song that we wrote and recorded
That's awesome.
and published.
Blaine says, "Swift Gliders, you two and your streams got me through the toughest part of my life, brain disease.
Oh, damn.
And I forever swear my sword to you."
That's crazy. Congratulations on getting married and for making it through brain disease.
Yeah.
Wow.
Holy hell. Yeah. I hope everything's going great. And I hope you shake your tush off to Materia
I hope
at your wedding.
hope everyone gets down and boogies to Sweet and Tender.
Hell yeah.
It's a summertime jam.
Thank you, Entropy Online, who says, "Can you rank BoJack Horseman, or do you need a new tier specifically for him?"
Secretariat on there.
Yeah, yeah,
BoJack's
yeah.
parents and grandparents.
Hollyhock.
Yeah, Hollyhock.
I think that I think the thesis statement of BoJack Horseman is that he's a bad man and a okay horse.
Mm.
Isn't there that bit where BoJack like goes running with the other horses and he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, what if I actually like
What if I embraced my nature? What if
Yeah.
I actually did what I was meant to do?
instead of doing a bad job of trying to be a person, what if I did a good job of being a
Mm.
horse?"
Because emptiness is the state of denying your own meaning. Yeah.
And yet enlightenment is about rising above your nature. Unless you're a horse.
In which case, it's running with the herd.
Thank you, Justice Nuri, who says, "Can't wait for your stream ranking all wooden horses in Ice and Fire." How many wooden horses are there at Ice and Fire? Daenerys describes ships as wooden horses.
Oh yeah, to the Dothraki. That's fun.
I guess there are metaphorical wooden horses in like the false gifts offered by...
Like a Trojan horse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Justice says, "I fall asleep every night to reruns of hearing you two blokes talk about this series, and my family finds it a bit odd,
Fair enough.
but it sends me right to sleep." Unrelatedly, thoughts on Silk Song?
I was about to say I try not to have thoughts on unreleased material, but clearly that's not the case. I've actually not looked into Silk Song. Like, I haven't scoured over every single drip we've had of Silk Song because I just want... when it does come, and it will come, I would like to experience it fresh.
Silk Song is the long-awaited expansion to the video game Hollow Knight. Is that correct?
It's a separate game. It's the distinct... Is it a sequel or a prequel? See, I don't even know. but it's the second Hollow Knight game.
I feel like people ask us a lot our opinions on things that don't exist, and like I get the impulse, but like I personally don't follow news on things that aren't released yet. Generally, like even including like Game of Thrones stuff, just because the news usually doesn't pan out. Like when something's in development, it usually doesn't turn into a TV show. And even when it does, it's usually not a good show. Like I don't really care until it's out and I can check it out. You know, that's my attitude to most kinds of media that aren't yet released. Personally.
Yeah, I'm not even a movie trailers person.
There's so many pieces of media, movies, games, books that already exist.
Yeah,
that I haven't checked out. So
My
why
God.
would I get all twisted up about things that don't yet exist when there's so much to engage with that does already exist?
Absolutely. I'm currently watching through a drama show that aired, like, it started 28 years ago. I don't have time to worry about Jon Snow's show.
I am
Question mark.
sufficiently stressed by things that do exist to stress myself over things that don't exist. I'm perfectly capable of stressing myself out about the things that do exist.
Quote, Rene Descartes.
Thank you, Glidus Snow, who says, I always asked Mother why you left us, and she always said, wherever horse go. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's all right.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Where does horse go? To the stables?
Yeah. To the the tunnel that leads to the brothel that comes out in the stables.
Yes, that's right.
The Tywin Lannister. That's what Tyrek's doing.
Fohammer says, this stream started right as I got into bed. Perfect timing to drift off to horse chat. I love the idea that however much research we put in, our greatest service is ultimately to render people unconscious.
Bedtime story. Tell me a story about a horse.
Thank you, Jordan Herstig, who says, all hail Glimbar and Alto X, absent father of the year. I was awarded an absent father of the year award, but I never got my trophy because I didn't come to the ceremony.
Wow, you're in the running for next year as well. Scarlett McCain says clothing stream next, Tokar education. You're getting schooled.
I do need to be re-educated on Tokars. People do keep saying that we should do a clothing description.
We know less about fashion than we do about food.
I'm pretty sure you know more about fashion than many.
Yeah?
I've seen your t-shirts, your shirts.
You've seen the collection. You know I'm funky with the t-shirts.
fungi collection.
I own 4 mushroom shirts, everyone.
Yeah, well, it would be interesting to learn more because I mean, just like the horses, the more you learn, the more meaning you find in this stuff. So
I feel like the horses haven't carried us through the entire story in the way that food did, but that was to be expected.
Yeah, well, if we were covering the Saddle Club, I think that the horses would carry us through the whole story.
If we were covering My Little Pony.
But I mean, that's kind of the test, isn't it? Like how important something is to George and to Westeros is can you view the whole story through that.
And look, I think that the horses told us a lot about the characters to whom they are relevant.
Yeah.
But the entire story is not communicated through horses.
I wonder if George has ridden horses much. I wonder. Thank you, Zachary, who says, hey guys, if an actor contacted you to pick your brains about a character they were playing in an upcoming Game of Thrones show, would that be something you're interested in? Obviously financed and NDA cleared. Love everything the two of you do.
Are you putting tendrils out here, Zachary?
Who
have you been cast for?
You don't have to pay us $6.48 in order to contact us, by the way. Like, we have email addresses.
Yeah.
That sounds cool, and I think we'd be happy to talk to you.
Or whoever else, hypothetically.
Yeah, sure. Always happy to chat.
I actually did advise Matt Smith before House of the Dragon. That's why he pitched the sex stream with his mother to the writers in season 2. That came from me.
Yeah. Well, last time I was having crumpets with Sonoya Mizuno, we chatted over the whole...
The accent?
The accent was my idea.
Oh, you were going to say the making out with Emma Darcy.
Well, that was her idea.
Yeah, of
but
course.
I was all for it. Thank you, Rami, who says, first time catching a live. Can't wait to watch this VOD 6 times over the next year on long drives.
I hope it's good enough. I hope it's long enough. How long have we been going?
2 hours and 23 minutes.
A short one today. Mikhail says, was finally able to catch my favorite CC's live. We're corn chips. Greetings from Finland. Questions for both of you. Could you summarize meeting Germ in one word?
Yummy.
Burrito.
Gladys, I've got bad news for you.
What's that?
Mikhail was not referring to us as corn chips.
Oh, what's he mean?
He was referring to us as content creators.
Like Jake Paul?
I'd rather be a corn chip.
I mean, George did call us podcasters.
He called us podcasters on Not a Blog.
Yeah.
We are forever immortalized as podcasters.
I think as revenge, we need to refer to him only as a blogger for the rest of our careers.
That's such a good idea. What other professions can we refer to him as? I mean,
he's a food writer.
He's a food critic. He's a burrito enjoyer. Famed burrito enjoyer.
He's a train line operator.
Famed cinema operator.
He runs a bookstore.
Famous train fancier,
and actually,
George Martin.
If you go to Beastly Books, if you go to George's bookshop, he's there all the time. He will make you a coffee. He'll find books for you. He puts on cartoons in the other room.
That's right.
Yeah, that's why he's not writing The Winds of Winter. He's busy working the bookshop.
That's right. If only he wasn't there at the bookshop.
Yeah, but
24/7.
unfortunately, no one else can do it. No one else can make coffee for the bookstore goers.
Famed fisherman cap enthusiast George R. Martin weighed in on House of the Dragon the other day. Thank you, Aidan Donovan and Ariel Honan. Aidan says, "Holy Scheiße! Finally, it's fine if it's German, right?
Yeah.
Finally caught Schmifty and
the
Glippy
YouTube
live.
algorithm doesn't catch on to other languages.
It's not that advanced yet. Actually, well, no, I guess that would be a funny test, wouldn't it? If you just like swore like a sailor in a different language, would YouTube's algorithms pick it up?
Huh.
I suspect that it probably could, but I suspect that it probably doesn't. Because I think that processing multiple languages at once is generally not how YouTube works, like with like their subtitles and stuff.
And also, like, if you do swear in a different language to the one you're speaking in, it is less cursy.
Well, unless you're German.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, we're speaking in English, so if we swear in German, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're allowed to say it on the news, apparently.
When are we getting the next installment of Pictionary, says Aidan.
Oh, we really could just shit those out, couldn't we? We really could just shizer those out.
I think that the novelty is part of the fun.
Yeah.
I think I would be happy to do more Pictionary streams, but I think that if we can add additional twists or variations, it's more fun.
That's how I felt about the fake ASOIAF theories video. A lot of people wanted me to just do another one of those, but I feel like I just did the same thing again, it would lose its luster very quickly.
Yeah, we're certainly open to suggestions. Like, we've done Pictionary, we've done theories, you've done game shows, we've done ranking, we've done D&D alignment charts, we've talked about the new George movie.
Yeah.
Like, if you guys have suggestions and thoughts on topics and gimmicks, then put them in the comments.
And it's not as though we have a shortage of ideas, my goodness.
Yeah, the list of ideas gets longer faster than it gets shorter.
Oh, that's for certain.
That's for certain. I almost shirted myself.
Thank you, Pingu. We've already discussed the Luther Tyrell death horse.
Thank you, Best at Grammar, who says, "Hello, Glum and Schwit. First time catching a live, and it's a horse one. If you were to ride any horse in A Song of Ice and Fire, which would you pick?"
Now, that's a great question.
That is a great question.
Tywin Lannister.
Oh, I bet. I mean, a Zorse would be funny. I think Maester would be cute. I don't want to...
You picked the two that aren't horses.
Yeah, well,
So
broad
did I.
church, Gliders, broad church. I think that I don't really want to ride a big like war horse.
But Thunder seems so cool.
Thunder does seem cool, but like I don't think that would be very comfortable. Like, I just want a chill palfrey, honestly. Like Chestnut or some Sweetfoot.
Chestnut time.
Yeah, maybe just Chestnut, you know.
A chill horse.
Yeah.
Dancer.
Although the Silver Mare is
Yeah.
pretty
It might be the
gorgeous.
Silver Mare, so I can feel like a princess finally.
Yeah, at last. Yeah, maybe one of them.
Thank you, Best at Grammar. Catfish and Toast says, a horse of ice and fire, horse of the Seven Kingdoms, perhaps, horse of the dragon, even. I
When
don't
the
mind
horse
that.
weds the dragon. Tyrek enjoys listening to us two become horse.
Tyrek unshod. Oh, very good.
Chris V, thank you for the generous donation.
That's incredible. Thank you very much. But Honor was on the list the whole time.
Yeah, Chris says Honor wasn't on the list. Honor's definitely on the
Honor
list.
was there the whole time.
Thank you, Jay.
We'll keep the money, though.
Who says, hot take, D&D was right that Renly would have been a better king than Stannis.
Those are fighting words.
He's a better conciliator. Did you see him go to war with his brother, who was his elder?
For like no reason?
Able to inspire loyalty like Robert, but with more political tact. Stan is too inflexible to build coalitions.
I think that, well, in Game of Thrones specifically, the loyalty that Renly inspires is more just opportunist. People can see their own room to take advantage of Renly more than they can of Stannis. The Tyrells have more to gain from Renly than they do with Stannis because Stannis isn't going to flex to their bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, Renly's like a good rube for the Tyrells.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that he's a good politician.
Now, if you're talking about Ice and Fire, there's more legs to stand on there. You're working with 6 or 8 legs, but I'm still not sure.
I mean, the whole meme of like Stannis is iron and Stannis is inflexible. I think is wrong because there are so many ways in which Stannis is flexible and adapts, starting with like adopting Melisandre and starting with adopting Davos and changing his mind and going north and working with wildlings, and like he constantly changes his mind and changes his tactics.
Well, his relationship with Shireen is built on the if he were inflexible, he wouldn't he would write Shireen off.
His adaptability is part of why he's alive and Renly's dead.
And you say that like he's too inflexible to build coalitions and alienating with R'hllor, but the R'hllor thing is him building a coalition.
Yeah, when the Volantine R'hllorists come in from the east, that might be a useful coalition.
You'll be singing a different song, Jay.
It might be that Stannis' R'hlorism is part of what saves Westeros in the end.
So I think Renly is more agreeable as a person. That's definitely true, but I don't know if that means he'd be a better king.
I think we would find the whole thing easier to swallow if Renly in the TV show looked like he looks in the books, which is rad and strong and green.
But no, they made him a prissy, prissy little gay boy who faints at the sight of blood, like apparently all gay people do.
Yep.
Good job, Game of Thrones. Nice change.
Thank you, Nepotism TV, who says, you might have already addressed this, but where do the White Walker horses land on here? They are blameless in all of this, for sure.
Well, yeah, if regular horses are, like, ambiguously moral agents, the White Walker horses are dead.
Mm.
And they're, like, it's implied they're being psionically controlled by the White Walkers.
But the dead remember Glidus. Small Paul remembers. Othor remembers. The Whites remember. So, in some sense, their memories remain. In some sense, their personality remains. In some sense, their agency remains. Mayhaps.
The same is true of horses and ice spiders.
Mayhaps.
I
think it's an interesting question whether those horses are 6,000 years old. I feel like over 6,000 years, they would just break down into dust. They would just stop functioning. And I feel like the horses are probably more recently dead. But I wonder where the White Walkers got these more recently dead horses. I mean, how many White Walkers have we seen on horses in the books? Not many.
In the books, can't be that many. Your idea that being that old would simply mean they'd deteriorate into dust really puts a hole in my cold hands is the Night's King theory.
Yeah, I don't think Cold Hands is the Night's King.
You're breaking my heart.
I know, I'm sorry.
You're tearing me apart. Sweeter.
It's such a long time, and he acts kind of human. And why does he hide his face?
The Night's King was human.
Why does he hide his face? If he's the Night's King, why does he hide his face? Doesn't make sense.
No, fair enough. I don't know, because he's horribly disfigured.
I think it's honest. I'm just so mad about that manuscript note. I think Benjen just makes so much more sense.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing is like it's such an obvious answer that of course the editor would write. So it's Benjen, right? And it's just so crazy that it's not.
I think Cold Hands like falls far down the list of mysteries to answer that it's something that George might never get around to really explaining.
And that's sort of cool as well, because then I can hold on to my tinfoil.
Hell yeah. Well, we've been holding on to the tinfoil for 14 years now.
I mean, it's a lot better than what happened in season 6 of Game of Thrones, where it's like, yep, I was Benjen all along. Oh, there wasn't even an all along. He just showed up and was Benjen, and there was no mystery around it.
Like how Robert Strong just turned up and was Gregor.
Oh, it's so fuck.
Cool Guy says, what if Glidus was a horse?
That's so funny because you were going to put me on this list.
Yeah. Well, I was going to rank you a D, though, because I don't think you'd be that good of a horse.
I think, look, that's fair.
Thank you, Heather, who says, I'm afraid of horses. This episode is going to give me nightmares tonight.
Look, fair enough. They've got weird faces.
They can accidentally step on us, so, you know.
They're big, scary animals, but they're also beautiful.
Thank you, One Together, who says, hello, McShrimblebob, Esquire, and shit. First time catching a stream, and I gotta thank you all for the constant hours of content to fall asleep to. Here's $7.44. Don't spend it all in one place.
Now, the numbers there are disagreeing. I think that's a conversion issue.
Thank you, Jared B., who says, hey, two Schwarzes of the Glimpocalypse. Just wondering how your recent gig went, Glidus.
Mate.
I was wanting to rock up to hear your sweet voice and then be parasocially awkward, but then had another commitment that weekend.
Yeah, gig went great. Thanks for asking, and thanks for even considering coming.
Hell yeah.
Lots of fans actually did come and did say hi, and that was really nice. It was
awesome.
A pretty epic day.
Is there another album in the works?
There's lots of things in the works, and one of them is an album.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And you said the solo covers are coming up on Spotify soon.
That should be real soon, yeah.
Sick.
It's all happening. It's all the things I'm cooking are coming out of the oven.
Tony Manic says, any idea what rank Penny's Pretty Pig would get? That's actually such a good call. I think that Pretty Pig is deserving of a spot on this tier list.
Yeah?
Because it is ridden like a horse,
Yeah.
and it does have a personality, and it does have, like, character
plot
significance.
relevance. Yeah.
I mean, in the same way that some of these horses, like Chestnut, teach humility, I think Pretty Pig teaches humility to Tyrion.
Most certainly.
I think Pretty Pig is an A.
A-tier horse?
Pretty Pig is an A-tier horse.
Okay.
Like, it would be S, except for the small issue that it's not a horse.
The tiny little wrinkle.
And Pretty Pig does get eaten as well towards the end, I think.
Oh, well, that doesn't take points off. You're allowed to be eaten.
Jay Walker says, Arya's white horse escaping from King's Landing in Season 8 felt too specific for D&D to come up with. Maybe George hinted at Dany's fall and Arya's moral return, helping Barristan betray Dany, ?
Winky face.
Symbolized by riding Dany's own silver mare. Huh. Maybe in the Game of Thrones TV show, when the Silver Mare died in the Red Waste, it actually just pretended to die and then simply got up again and then followed Daenerys for the next 8 seasons to Westeros and then was ridden by Arya. There's a theory for it.
And Harry Strickland before her.
And Harry Strickland. Imagine following Daenerys for 8 seasons across Eurasia only to get exploded under Harry Strickland. That would be very unfortunate.
Damn. I don't mind the idea, but I am sort of now married to Drogon will eat the horse.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Do you think Barristan will betray Dany?
I think that it's the cards are there, but Barristan's not much of a betrayer.
I'm mindful that there's like 20 significant characters in Daenerys' orbit right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, how much room is there for all of these characters to have meaningful interactions with Daenerys in the next book and a half, you know?
Well, I mean, that question props up all over the story. Like, how is all of this going to fit?
There's no time for any of
And
this.
the answer is The Winds of Winter is actually going to be 3 books.
As aggravated as I was by Barristan's death in the Game of Thrones show, I would not be mad if Barristan died in the battle for Meereen.
No, like, yeah.
Thank you, Molly, who says, we are all horse girls at heart.
So true, Molly. Hope you're doing well.
Thank you, Amadou, who says, Galani and Shorzian, thank you so much for the streams. They're amazing to cook to the recordings of. If you want a real Viserys III video, since you wanted a shorter topic this time, Glimfindel subconsciously made me a Vizzy head, and I need a fix.
I didn't even have to try.
Is it Vizzy head or Vissy head?
Vizzy head.
Yeah,
But you can spell it with S's, that's fine.
your long-term appreciation of Daenerys' brother Viserys and Harry Lloyd, I think requires a video.
Oh yeah, it definitely will someday.
Thank you, Jay, who says, been listening for years. Nothing like two dudes manically discussing horse lore to get you through the day.
There is truly nothing quite like it.
Please don't hate me for thinking Renly would have been a better king.
We do.
Thank you, Disco Grass, who says, Bucephalus and Swiftariat.
You didn't even try, did you?
Didn't I get pretty close?
I
Bucephalus.
think Glucephalus would have...
Glucephalus.
I don't know.
What if instead of a horse,
Swiftariat's good.
it's Ramsay's hounds that Theon will embrace to reclaim his identity? Like he tames the hounds, he becomes the master of the hounds?
I do like the idea that Theon will be behind Ramsay's hounds eating him rather than Sansa. Like, not that I was too upset that Sansa did it in the show, other than the moral implications, which are never dealt with. But Theon doing it, I think, also makes... I mean, Sansa has had no interaction with Ramsay in the books, so it's got to be Theon if it happens like that.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Thank you, Count Balerion, who says bastards named Glorse and Altswift Horse.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scarlett McCain, who says Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron is a key childhood memory for me. You all seen it?
I've seen it. Have you seen it?
No, what is it?
It's a horse movie. It's a horse girl movie.
Is it like live action?
No,
is
it's animated. It's a cartoon.
What does Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron do?
It's a horse. It does horse things.
Does horse things?
Yeah, I remember enjoying it. I haven't watched it in a very long time though. Asparagus Tasty has become a member. Wow, that's neat.
Thank you, Pablo Reed 7717, who says, are Pegasi horses or a separate species? This video reminded me of the Guardian herd books I read as a king, which were like warrior cats but with Pegasi.
I've never heard of that before, but that sounds cool.
I love that we're like unlocking horse memories for everyone. I love that we're spreading some horse appreciation out there.
As for Pegasus is separate or are they horses? They're fictional. So I've dealt with that.
What do you call a Pegasus with a unicorn horn?
A Pegasus with a unicorn horn.
Do you call it a unisus or a pegacon?
I'm sure that some fantasy authors have dealt with this question and have provided answers, but much like the Dragon Lake situation, it's whatever they feel like it.
It's a free country.
Yeah, the future is a free country, man.
How many legs does a Pegasus have?
Oh, can it be a centaur as well?
Can you imagine if a Pegasus had like little hoofs at the ends of its wings, like a dragon's thumbs?
Right, yeah.
So it has like the 6-leg thing going on.
Well, that's sort of a problem because like they're the odd-toed ungulates. They have one toe for each hand, each limb.
It's like fused toes.
So how would that become wings?
All right. Alternately, a Pegasus has 2 back feet and no front feet. So
like
it
a
has,
wyvern,
like a wyvern,
yeah.
like a wyvern unicorn, wyvern Pegasus.
Like
it
like
has
a two-legged
hooves.
dragon.
It has hooves at the end of its wings, and then it has the 2 back legs, and then it has to sort of clop around on its front wing legs on the ground. So it's awkward on the ground, but majestic in flight.
You know, Trogdor had 5 limbs because he has 2 legs, 2 wings, and the big beefy arm.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a 5-limbed dragon.
Yeah. Damn. Well, I wasn't kidding then when I said 5. I was merely referring to Trogdor.
Although Trogdor was a dragon, man. Oh, maybe it was just a dragon. God damn it! It's Trogdor. Can you still invoke Trogdor? Are people
they don't know what we're talking about. The Zoomers, they don't know.
The children are uncultured.
They've never been on a website.
They've never been to a web zone
They don't
and
know
click
what a
the flash
website
button
is.
that opens the menu that you can watch all the spee mails on.
They killed Flash. It's
They
the
did.
burning of the Library of
It
Alexandria.
really is. I can't play Burrito Bison on ArmorGames.com anymore.
Damn.
This is a foundational experience that the younger generations won't have access to.
One manly tear rolling down my cheek. Well, you raised an interesting question before, though, which was Centaur Pegasus.
Yes, and unicorn.
And
Because the
unicorn
centaur
Pegasus.
human head has a horn coming out of it, a narwhal horn, and it's got wings coming out of its shoulders, I guess.
It's like an Andalite-looking mother.
Absolutely.
So
So really, that's just like a dude with angel wings and a horn, but also the back of him is a horse.
well, would a Pegasus centaur have the wings coming from its horse's back or its human back?
back.
It would have to be the horse's back, because otherwise it wouldn't be aerodynamic.
We're
A Pegasus,
we're considering the aerodynamics now.
a Pegasus centaur with wings coming from its human shoulders would be like
So
carried
back
aloft by
heavy.
its human bit,
Yeah.
and its horse ass would just be dangling across the land, just dangling there.
Well, you're forgetting that they're magical creatures.
But what are the wings for, if not for lift?
Sexual display. It's there to.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the wings are for dimorphic sexual display,
Like stag antlers.
and the
They also
actual
do combat with them. They're not for flight.
right.
They
So
fly
the
with
flight is
magic.
achieved through pixie dust,
Yes.
Which
Which
is-
is stored in the horn.
which is stored in the horn, but it thrusts.
It emanates.
Is it like a
thrust,
reverse
sure.
thrust?
It's more like a jet engine.
It's actually
yeah.
it's at the front, so it's less of a thrust
It's actually
and it's
like
more
the,
of a suck.
the Planet Express
It
ship.
more just sort of sucks itself in
It
the
moves
direction
the
it needs
universe
to go.
around it.
Yeah. No. Yep. No. What? Okay. All right. Okay.
And that's what I'm going to become.
Do you think it's got a tiny aperture at the tip of the unicorn horn, which is like an infinitely small aperture? So by creating a vacuum inside the unicorn horn, it's sucking in air through the tiny aperture so quickly and intensely that generates the lift. And in order to jettison the air that's being sucked in through the unicorn horn, the Pegasus simply farts to expel the air out the back. And so it becomes a kind of a tube. So it's a kind of a high velocity tube that just gets sucked through the universe. How does it decelerate though? That's my question. Maybe
It just turns around and does the same thing backwards.
maybe I guess it could just point its horn, but also the wings could be used to decelerate.
To generate drag.
Yeah, so maybe the wings are not about lift at all.
It's
They're
about,
simply
slowing
about
down. Yeah.
deceleration. Yeah, no, I think that this is
Or you could just press the brake pedal.
the brake pedal. That's how you drive a Centaur Pegasus
Unicorn.
unicorn. Didn't someone release a YouTube video about unicorns recently? I think there was
Probably.
a video essay about
There are
unicorns.
billions of YouTube videos.
Are there?
Oh, maybe. No, it's definitely millions.
There's
though.
at least 10.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pablo Reed.
I hope you thought that that's where we were going with your super chat.
Thank you, Alt-Shift Stone, who says, "Oh, exalted father, the great Alt-Shift X, I humbly request that you add thee to my father the 4 streams missing on Spotify. 1 for book covers, the 2 character alignments, and the ranking theories." I thought I fixed that. I thought that I put all of the streams on Spotify.
Welcome back to AltSwiftX does some back-end admin on my YouTube channel.
I'm pretty sure we put them, like, it'll be in like publication order, but like I love how Spotify disables monitors. Does it do that when you open Spotify?
No, I think that's a personalized copy issue again. Ooh, we got the bulung sound.
All right. Well, look, we don't have to
Deal
listen
with it
to
later,
me
man.
figure this out. Yeah, I'll deal with that later.
Thank you, though. Sahil says, Glolt, Swift X, and Alt Limbo. Say that 10 times real fast.
Glolt Shift X and Alt Limbo, 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 Glolt Shift X and Alt Limbo.
I was just going to say no.
I think I did a pretty good job of
Yeah,
that.
that's pretty good. There's your rap skills coming back.
Thank you, Jovial
Help us
Merriment, who says, "Hi, Gligar and Schweptile. Which of these
Yo,
horses
Sweptile, I love it.
do you think would win in a race? Who would win in a Pokemon battle between Gligar and Sceptile?"
It depends what moves. Like Sceptile definitely has the stats on Gligar, but
Yeah,
it does
okay.
depend on what moves are brought.
Well, poison is poison effective against Leaf?
You mean grass?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, Gligar's got
And
an
so
advantage.
is flying
to that.
actually, so it's a double.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Schweptile better watch out. Wait, what was
Especially if
the-
I'm holding
what-
the poison orb.
Wait, so the question is which horse
Right,
would
the
win?
question.
We got distracted
Not the second
by
question
the
you made
Pokemon.
up.
I think
In a
the
race?
silver mare would have a good chance.
I think it might be Thunder though,
Yeah.
or Tyrek.
I think these war horses are meant to be fast. Flame. I mean, Flame was bred for swiftness and beauty.
That's
wasn't she?
true, and she's really hot.
Yeah.
Probably Is Flame a girl?
I don't know. I
A
if
mare
I
or
had to guess,
stallion?
I'd say yes.
Yeah.
I think that I'd probably put it on Flame just because Flame is the most explicitly associated with speed. Well, and the Silver Mare, like you've gifted me the wind.
Oh yeah, but that's just symbolic fantasy princess stuff going on there.
Gladys, just so you know, it's all symbolic fantasy nonsense. The whole thing.
No.
The whole thing.
No. It's real.
I think Flame.
It's real to me.
Hi, Sahil, who says, I'm finally reading ASOIAF. Please recommend a playlist to listen to while reading.
Like music playlists, like tunes.
There is a project for that, isn't there? Have you heard of the there's a person who makes what is it? A long-awaited soundscape, and it's like an audio project. Yeah, Jordan Rannells made a soundscape specifically for listening to while you read The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, cool.
And Jordan, I think, has also made or is working on a Game of Thrones Ice and Fire soundscape. So I suggest that you check that out. Yeah, A Long Expected Soundscape by Jordan Rannells. Maybe that's worth checking out.
Cool. I'm hearing of this for the first time. Pablo Reed says, speaking of horses, Caligula's horse, which he wanted to make a console, was named Incitatus.
Incitatus?
In
Incitatus.
Good for them.
Thank you, Rumour.
It's always Glitterhoof in my mind because of the Crusader Kings thing.
Rumour33 says, none of these horses are as cool as Epona.
I have to disagree with you.
Who's Epona?
Epona is Link's horse in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
Does the horse in Shadow of the Colossus have a name?
Yes, it does. What's its name?
Doesn't the horse in Witcher 3 have it? Roach. Roach is a good name.
That's a great name for a horse.
Thank you, Clementine Waters, who says, first time catching a stream, love the content. Zazie says, who are you guys rooting for in Eurovision? Hope you're having a nice week.
God, oh boy, I don't care.
I'm just rooting for Europe on this one.
Yeah, go Europe.
Thank you, Sam Day, who says, Glidus, you and Swift should experiment with each other's bodies.
What the
My
I
goodness.
can't believe you read that. You usually skip those.
Yeah, well, if I read it before I say it, it's much quicker just to read it. Thank you, Burnt Orphan, who says, good evening, Glop, and could you spare some aloe?
Aggro, that's the name of the horse in Shadow of the Colossus.
Aggro?
Yeah.
Why aggro?
I don't know.
How was that spelled?
Agro. You know, like all of the things in that game have strange names.
Because it's Japanese. Is it Japanese?
It's made by Japan people, yeah.
Of Danny's Dragons, which is your favorite?
Danny's Dragons. I love all of them. But Drogon is the most plot relevant.
You're not going to pick your boy Viserion?
Viserion, I think, is the most beautiful.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
think-
also the sad, tragic, pathetic piss baby who I love.
I think the green one is most beautiful.
You're wrong. RC says, hello, Glenberrick and Swiftarian.
Ooh.
Love a good hello super chat. That's good.
Thank you, Bane, who says, Sir Glitterous and Lord Schwitties, may I petition that the Crown instate the sale of our Boys in a Crate merch? I feel like people reference lines that we said offhandedly 3 hours into a 5-hour stream.
2 years ago.
Yeah, we should have more merch though.
Yeah,
should
we
put
say
things on
some
t-shirts.
outrageous things.
Yeah, there's links to the Pictionary stream merch in the description, I believe.
Oh, you and the segues to plugs.
I know.
Your
Look,
eloquent plugs.
I know. It's because I have no shame, Glidus.
I'm working on that.
Thank you, Queen of Weirdness, who says, first time catching live, love my brony bros.
I'll let the silence deal with that one. Borantissi says, greetings, Alt-Shaft Bucket and Glittering Glingo.
Glittering Glingo.
What do you guys think of the theory that Aegon III was responsible for the death of the last dragons, wrote the book The Death of Dragons, and nobody knew except for the Maesters? I'm hearing of this theory for the first time just now.
I mean, most of the dragons died in the dance. Are we saying that Aegon III, poisoned those remaining,
Yeah, the last
last dragon? And And we don't know what happened to Morning, do we?
We don't know what happened to Silverwing.
Yeah.
There's a few loose ends.
I feel like if Aegon III slew Silverwing,
We'd have heard about it.
yeah, yeah. But maybe things were done in secret. I mean, how would Aegon III have gotten special knowledge to write The Death of Dragons? I mean, did he maybe work with the Faceless Men to do it? Because I do kind of like the idea that the Faceless Men are sort of anti-dragon extremists.
Well, yeah, if they cause the doom of Valyria, as the theory goes, then that it falls in line that they would also cause the end of the dragons.
I mean, honestly, like, pour one out for the Valyria TV show that was in development, because it could have explored some of these issues.
Yeah.
Probably would not have, but would have been cool if it did. Yeah, I mean, who was Aegon III? He was just a sad boy, really, wasn't he? He was just very sad and traumatized.
Well, he watched the dragon civil war tear his family apart and cause the death of everyone he loved.
Yeah.
Like, literally everyone. And then his brother just came back from the dead, like, from his perspective, right?
Yeah, look, I think that there is a story there. I think that we could just chalk it up to, like, the seasons, like the changing tides of magic in this world. Maybe the dragons were just really sad that all the other dragons were dead.
Yeah, maybe the death of dragons began with the doom of Valyria.
Yeah. I mean, it could be an issue of genetic diversity. I mean, it mirrors the Targaryens themselves, right? How goddamn inbred are these dragons?
And then, they all just happened to kill each other, and so they just ran out of dragons.
Yeah, it could be that simple. But I think there's also, like, magical mysteries you could tie into it, and there's, character motivations and the mysteries of the maesters, and I think there's a story there. You could do something with that. Whether George Martin has, like, decided yet, I don't know.
Yep. Raven says, what will everyone's reaction be to Jon's resurrection? What would everyone at Castle Black do, and what would Sam think when he finds out? All great questions that I would love to know the answers to.
I like the idea of some kind of religious movement, because they do talk about Melisandre having followers at Castle Black. And, like,
Game of Thrones, like, so annoyingly teases at that idea. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing where, like, George might have told Dan and Dave that, like, yeah, there's going to be, like, a religious movement because people believe Jon's the Messiah. And so D&D are like, oh, I guess we better put in this line.
Like that one joke from Tormund.
They think you're a god, but you have a tiny pecker, and that's all they do with it.
Yeah, it's just making fun of Kit Harington.
But in the books, that could be, like, a whole arc about, almost like a Dune thing. George has talked about Dune and Frank Herbert. And the whole Dune thing of, like, becoming a unwilling religious messiah is something that George could play with, and which could parallel Daenerys.
Absolutely.
'Cause that's what's happening with Daenerys.
Yep.
So Jon and Daenerys as sort of, like, rival reluctant messiahs is, I think, probably something that George will play with.
Bran is also becoming an all-powerful, reluctant, religious associated messianic figure.
Yeah. And I imagine that Gurm might land on a similar message to what Frank lands on, which is, if you're thinking of becoming a religious messiah, maybe don't. The Sam thing is a good question, because, like, Sam is feeling isolated from Jon because Jon was his best friend, but ever since Jon became Lord Commander, he's been acting like a bit of a dick.
Yeah.
And so I wonder how that relationship might develop further. Like, if Jon turns into a weird Firewhite weirdo, will Sam try to reconnect with Jon's humanity? Or is it just, like
okay,
over?
that guy's dead now. I can't connect with him anymore.
Wouldn't it be sad if they had, like, a total falling out?
It's also something that I don't think Game of Thrones touches on at all, is Sam's reaction to Jon's death.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever addressed.
Well, anyone's reaction to Jon's death. Almost no one reacts to Jon's death. It's bizarre.
It's insane.
It was the biggest plot twist in television that year, and none of the characters reacted to it.
Like 3 episodes later,
in
Jon
that
wakes up and
television
he's like,
show.
man, that was weird. Anyway.
That might be the most wasted story plot beat in popular media history.
Oh, I don't know. They did kill Littlefinger in the way that they did.
Littlefinger's not Kit Harington.
That's true. And he never will be.
Littlefinger doesn't have those abs.
And he never will. Because we killed him for some reason.
Donation from Elamist, which I believe is the name of one of the Andalites in Animorphs.
Oh, no way.
So I see you, Elamist. Y'all ever see the I think you should leave sketch about horses bred to have tiny dicks? Seems relevant.
I have not seen that sketch, but that sounds wonderful.
Thank you, Disco Grass, who says, "Oh, my sweet summer donkey."
Fantastic.
No, my sweet Sumer donkey. Oh my god! Because we were talking
That's
about
great,
Sumerian
that's great.
super donkeys. That's so impressive.
Well done.
Our audience is so much wittier than we are.
Well, they've got a lot more brains to work with.
Brains. I have one. How many brains do you have to work with?
2.
2?
I've got yours.
Yeah. Well, call me a dromedary because I'm bicameral.
Wow.
Because
Wow. Call me a most parliaments.
I got
bicameral.
humps.
Oh. What?
Yeah, we've reached the free associating segment of the live stream.
Bicamel.
Rumor says
There are bisexual camels out there.
it's a spectrum on the Kinsey scale. That's what we should be doing is ranking all of these horses on the Kinsey scale.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You think Thunder's a bit fruity?
I mean, he's with Dunk, so
Yeah,
come on.
True.
Rumor says Dunk should have a horse named Day to go with rain and thunder. I don't. Why Day?
I'm not understanding this one. You've lost me. It's beyond me.
Thank you, I hate Bermexes. Is that what? I mean, what's that?
No, you did great.
Hey, I can't thank you enough for your streams. I fall asleep listening to it daily. I hope nightly, not daily.
You can sleep in the day if you want.
Should you though?
Well, yeah, if you're riding it.
The Ice and Fire.
Because Day is a horse.
Yeah,
you can fall asleep in the saddle.
The Ice and Fire knowledge is diffusing into my brain, and now I can't sleep without your mellow voices as I drift into oblivion. Sorry?
Well, enjoy Oblivion. I believe they've remastered it recently.
Goddamn hero of Kvatch over here. How do you pronounce that name? Kieran?
Kieran.
Kieran.
You can just say Kieran.
Kieran says,
And
Dirk
roll with
gently
it.
rocks. Dixon Zetabaum says, I should be abed.
I'm excited to watch Dirk Gently, so we can give that a go.
I did hear good things. Thank you, Raven, who says, ignoring whether we'll actually get it or not, how do you think the series will end, as in the last scene? I like the idea of Bran in King's Landing seeing a white raven. Wouldn't it be like a black raven? Well, is there a raven to signal the end of winter, or only the start of winter?
I thought the implication was that it was there to signal the change of any season.
Okay. Maybe some kind of colourful parakeet
Because-
represents the start of summer.
Doesn't Crescent receive a white raven signaling the beginning of autumn?
Does he?
Am I making that up? I do that a lot. So sorry for everyone who's having the knowledge seep into their brains as they drift into oblivion.
I don't recall. I mean, look, I think Bran does make sense for the end.
He was the beginning.
Wouldn't it be cool if the epilogue was just some random common person?
Yeah.
Because the sort of unspoken protagonist of the entire series is like the people. It's like the common people who just want to be left in peace.
Who occasionally get a voice in the actual series, but they're usually just bubbling away.
All right, here's my pick. Rosie, epilogue, A Dream of Springs. And Rosie's just like, well, it was pretty weird when Euron and the Squishers took over Old Town, and then the sky was dark for 6 months.
But the tavern's booming.
And that really sucks, but the tavern's booming, and this new King Bran sounds kind of weird, but at least there's no outlaws at the moment.
There's bread flowing into the city, so that's okay.
Yeah.
It's weird that the high tower fell over when it did.
When the big glowing eye of Euron Crow's eye appeared at the top of the high tower, like the Eye of Sauron. That was weird.
That was a pretty freaky day.
Yeah, the Grand Maester Samwell seems to be doing good things in Old Town.
Ugh.
I mean, he could work his way up.
Yeah, I just it's so sour in my mouth though.
Archmaester Samwell.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's my
Much
pick.
better.
Rosie epilogue.
Sure.
Thank you, Spicy Sam 666, who says my favorite horse was the meat that
Oh,
Dany
we
ate.
didn't talk about the horse heart that Dany ate.
Well, it's not a horse; it's a heart.
It's a horse heart. And we talked about it in food descriptions.
Thank you, Triceratops, who says you were right. There were horses in the Americas that went extinct 10,000 years ago, and may not have looked much like Tyrek, But just like lactose tolerance, horses evolved in multiple
right.
places around the world.
Yes.
Triceratops, I would suggest that a comma may have been well placed at some point in that sentence. But yeah, that's cool. The idea of like convergent evolution horses. What did they look like 10,000 years ago?
Ah. Well, there is one species or subspecies of wild horse that exists still to this day. Whereas most horses, even like what you might think of as wild horses, they're actually feral horses, which are descendants of domesticated horses, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There is a wild horse, a species of wild horse, not just one horse.
What's his name?
Przolski, I think it's pronounced.
Przolski.
Yeah. And it's native to like Russia, or is it Kazakhstan, or is it Siberia? I can't remember.
Is he a furry boy?
Yeah, they're furry, they're shaggy because it's so
Hell
cold. Yeah.
Tyrek, like lactose tolerance. Thank you, Elmist, who
Do you
says...
think the Lannisters are lactose tolerant, or
Who do you think is the least lactose tolerant in Westeros?
I don't know why, but I just have a Sweet Robin vibe.
Yeah,
I just think it might be Sweet Robin,
might
but
be
like
Sweet
maybe
Robin.
he's just been overwhelmed with all the milk.
Is that how it works? Like,
No.
what is the correlation between milk intake and lactose tolerance?
I don't know if there is one.
I mean, I know that there's a lot of other, like, there's like genetics and there's lots of other, but I wonder what the other.
But I did find that when I stopped having Wheat Bix every morning with milk, when I stopped that a year on, milk I became less lactose tolerant just because I was doing. Maybe this is hogwash pseudoscience, which great. But I felt as though once I stopped drinking as much milk, I stopped being able to process it as well and started like propelling myself with farts.
Nice. Well, I started smoking cigarettes to avoid lung cancer.
Ah.
I want to expose myself to the toxins early.
Yeah, like a vaccine.
Yes.
But those are horrible.
Yeah.
Elamist says Varamir doesn't ride a horse, but maybe honorably mention the polar bear. Wish I had something more clever to say for your entertainment, but here's some money. Money speaks louder than words, so thank you.
The polar bear is still out there, isn't it? Because Varamir loses control of it.
Yeah. When he dies.
And then in Game of Thrones season 7, we see a zombie polar bear.
Oh my god.
That's Varamir's polar bear.
It died and came back to life and then killed Thoros.
We didn't say that at the time, did we?
No.
That could be Varamir's
No.
polar bear. We probably didn't say it
It
because
never occurred to me.
because most people wouldn't care.
Yeah.
That's probably why we didn't say it. But
And also,
that's
I'm pretty
possible.
sure there's no way that was in the minds of the people who made that.
Yeah, well, I think they probably got the idea of the polar bear in Game of Thrones from the polar bear in Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
But they probably didn't think about it any more than that, yeah. Probably did not. Wait, no, but there is a zombie polar bear that kills Thorin on the Fist of the First Man.
Oh, yeah?
So there's 2 polar bears in Ice and Fire. The fact that I know that is distressing.
When the polar bear weds the other polar bear, let all the world beware.
Let all the world
polar beware.
bear. Thank you, Tom Blunt.
Well, if you don't laugh at yourself, no one else
Who will? Thank you, Tom Blood. Thank you, Jordan Herstig, who says, talking about 20 horses, it takes 5 hours.
Well, we'll see.
It's only been 3 hours.
Yeah.
Hayden says, hello, Glidestralia and New Swiftland. Thanks for
The
the
vids.
vids. I listen while I play Minecraft.
Hell yeah.
I'm honoured.
Build us an effigy.
Thank you, Lord Hoss McCoy, who says, at what time in Winds do you think John will come back? For example, a third of the way?
Oh, God. Well, he comes back in the 3rd episode of season 6 as a, just baseline reference.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's such a hard question to answer because the whole structure of the Winds of Winter is so mysterious and weird and jank. Because the Winds of Winter is kind of including what was gonna be the conclusion to A Dance with Dragons.
Yeah.
Which itself is kind of the other half of A Feast for Crows, which is half the sequel to A Storm of Swords. Like, structurally and, the pace is all over the place. So, at what point does Winds cut off and A Dream of Spring begin? I think that's a real weird open question. So, I feel like it will be some time before John gets resurrected,
won't
because we
be
need to feel
first
the
chapter,
impact. We need to feel the impact of his absence.
Yeah, like a lot of stuff's gonna happen at Castle Black before John, right?
But they could do a whole lot of chapters elsewhere in Westeros,
Yes, to make
before even looking at Castle
Yeah.
Black. We might only hear about it indirectly. So, it might be like it might be relatively early in one storyline, but not relatively early in the book storyline.
John might only be dead for a night,
Yeah.
but it'll take 20 chapters to get to that night.
Yeah, exactly. There could be some real sort of timey-wimey shenanigans. Or it could be like the whole damn book. Like, maybe John will just get resurrected at the very end of the book. But I mean, there's just so much invested in John's personality and John's plot and John's subplots.
Yeah.
There's just so much to do there that if he's lying dead for too long, there's no time for any of this.
Yeah.
I think a third sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Geevery.
That's all depending on how long this friggin' book is anyway.
Yeah, who knows? Hey Glidus and Swift, love y'all's content. Do y'all ever think that D&D catch more hate than they may deserve, considering they had to wrap the plot up on a deadline and it's becoming clear this story is impossible to finish?
I mean, maybe, yeah, they certainly, like, there's more vitriol than is necessary to respond to anything, right? They were caught in so much.
Yeah, I think they were put in a pickle. I think that there were several ways out of that pickle, and one of that ways was letting someone else do it.
In saying that, I think that like that's because the internet goes crazy and on hating people. Sorry for contributing, but also I don't want to give them any leeway because there were ways to get out of that. They could have handed the baton, or, as seen by the dozens and dozens and potentially hundreds of fan-made rewrites that are like legitimately better than what they did, there was a way to do it that wasn't horrible.
Yeah. They could have done a better job, and they should have done a better job. But, we'll never know all of the context because we weren't there and we haven't met those people.
And I think that nobody is deserving of that amount of hate for just writing a TV show was like poorly, more bad than it should have been.
Yeah.
Could have been more better.
I frankly have no interest in evaluating people who I've never met. I'm happy to evaluate the show. And the show in later seasons sucks, but I'm not really interested in assessing people who are real people who I haven't met. Thank you, TF, who says, I used to watch your videos when overseas and homesick. Thank you. When listening to one of the streams, I came up with this theory. Turbo Mott can't actually reforge Valyrian steel. It's a pyramid scheme. He swaps the blades around with a new hilt.
He just has...
Wait, how is it a pyramid scheme?
Well,
So
that's a scam, but not necessarily a pyramid scheme.
So ice is melted down into Oathkeeper and Widow's Wail.
So he just had those two Valyrian steel swords lying around.
Right.
And he took ice and just kept ice and still has ice.
So he just trades in Valyrian steel blades, pretending that he's reforging them. I guess that makes a kind of sense. But if I was sitting on a bunch of Valyrian blades, I mean, he would have the option of selling them and then
becoming
chilling.
enormously rich.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really see the point.
Thank you, Winters, who says, love you both.
We love you.
Thank you, Rumour, who says, it's night and day.
Oh, I get it. No, thank you for the bad horse pun.
Thank you for explaining it as well. People normally don't explain the jokes after we
Yeah.
don't get them, but I appreciate that one better now. Thank you, Murph, who says, did we discuss the absolute fact that the stable boy who Arya killed in Book 1 walked into the horse next to her? She then hears his voice. Is that a true fact?
Gonna have to review that.
I feel like if I search the term pointy end, it's going to come up. She stuck him with the pointy end, driving the blade upward with a wild, hysterical strength. Needle went through his leather jerkin and his white flesh. The boy dropped the pitchfork and made a soft noise. Oh gods, he moaned. Take it out. When she took it out, he died. Next sentence. The horses were screaming. So yeah, maybe the horse is in fact the stable boy in the horse's body screaming.
Maybe it is a lot easier for a dead body to eject a soul into a nearby animal than we give it credit for.
Maybe skin changing just happens all the
Yeah,
time.
maybe nameless characters who appear for 3 paragraphs are powerful skin changers.
I mean, they don't have to be like, they might not have control, you know? They might just be like,
Yeah.
oh god, I'm a horse now, this sucks.
Or maybe the horses are screaming because of like all the chaos going on around them.
That's probably more sensible. But I mean, it kind of is the premise of the old god's religion that every dead person goes into the trees and the animals, right? So like, that is the idea. Whether it's like strictly literally true all the time is another question. But that's one of those sort of questions, like, do only old gods believers have their spirits go into the trees? Or it's like Tywin Lannister in a tree right now, you know?
Do you have to be baptized to go to heaven?
Yeah.
It's literally that question.
Well, the only answer is it depends who you ask.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I mean,
in the Song of Ice and Fire, there might actually be an answer.
I think you've got to be near a weirwood is probably the
And
answer.
there are no weirwoods in King's Landing, right?
Yeah.
Except for House of the Dragon, question mark.
Yeah. No weirwood south of the wall except for that one.
And that one, and those ones over
and
there.
also that
And
one.
oh my god, there's
also-
so many
that
over
one as
there.
well.
What happened to Darren Hall?
Yeah, that is. I do like that aspect generally of the weirwood visions in Hot Day. Just, you know, that season did suffer from some pacing issues overall.
Lots of good stuff in it, though.
Yeah. Thank you, Sylvie, who says, "Hi, Gleedy and Schwiftus. Just finished my final uni presentation for the semester.
Ah, well done.
Thanks for getting me through the long study hours. Congrats." Thanks, Suma, who says, "Nothing like waking up to ice and fire brain rot at 8:40 a.m." I feel like the term brain rot is being bandied about a bit
Diluted
liberally
a little
here.
bit, you know?
Didn't we all
No,
see that man carrying thing video the other
About the
day
word
about
slop.
the word slop
Man,
being
we are
overused?
both on top of the man carrying thing videos.
Man carrying slop?
Have you ever spoken to him?
No, I haven't.
I've DM'd with him. He's really cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
When is he gonna invite you on for a collaboration?
Never.
What?
Why would he do that?
What?
He's a booktuber. I suppose we could talk about books.
Are we booktubers?
We are specifically 5 booktubers.
I always thought a booktuber was a potato that grows in a library.
That's pretty good.
Thanks.
Well done.
Thank you, TF, who continues to explain. Maybe Shane's scheme is more accurate. The idea is he gets the blade from the next house that wants him to reforge their sword, so he generally never has an extra sword. Ice would be the
Right.
exception that he could get him caught eventually.
Right, well, he had to exchange 2 swords for 1 in that case.
How many Valyrian steel swords is this guy reforging
Yeah,
in
I
an
think
average financial year?
I think that like the business model of reforging Valyrian steel is so the market for that is so small
Pretty specialized stuff.
that like I can imagine that when Tywin asked him to reforge ice, that was the first time he'd done it in like 20 years.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, melting down ice was always a deranged thing to do, and that's like part of the point. And George Martin had to make up some weird world building in a city we're never going to see just to justify it.
Yeah.
I don't think this is something that George necessarily thought about super deeply.
The circumstances around reforging ice are that it's an unwieldy, enormous ceremonial greatsword, and Tywin wanted actual swords to be used in combat by his house.
But I think he also just wanted to symbolically destroy his enemy.
That's another part of it. But I'm saying that Valyrian steel swords are such priceless artifacts that the idea that Randall Tarly would be like, oh, let's just reforge Heartsbane a little bit. Let's just call Turbo Mott up and fuck with Heartsbane for some reason. Why would he ever do that?
Yeah.
The market for this is Tywin Lannister and no one else.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I wonder if it'll come up again, the idea of reforging Valyrian steel. I was startled to see the bit in...
Do you think they'll make Valyrian steel horseshoes?
That would be rad. I think Thunder should get some Valyrian
Hell
steel
yeah.
horseshoes.
Tyrek.
I was startled by the bit in book 1 where Daenerys promises to give a Valyrian steel sword to Jorah. I had forgotten about that. And in the Game of Thrones TV show, Jorah gets, what is it? Heartsbane.
He gets Heartsbane, yeah.
From Sam. Like, do you think Jorah will get Heartsbane in... I mean, quite probably, right? I mean, like, the way it could work in...
He could get Longclaw. You know, his house's Valyrian steel sword. 'Cause John's dead.
Yeah, no, that's true. And John might get a different sword.
Like,
to be
Longclaw doesn't
Dawn.
really have a line of succession. It's sort of becoming a cool idea is that it's the hereditary sword of the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. The Lord Commander keeps Longclaw.
That's pretty rad.
That might be a cool idea. And, like, yeah, John, Azor Ahai moments might have to deal with another sword. He'll get Dawn or something. I don't know.
But I feel like the Mormonts are going to be cross, and there are several
Yeah.
Mormonts, like Alice
Jorah.
saying. Well, Jorah ain't going to survive. But the other Mormonts will.
Would be cool to get one of the Mormont ladies with Longclaw, yeah.
Totally. Thank you, Jordan, who says, "Hi, Gimboob. Can you talk for another 2 hours, please?"
We will, but probably off screen.
Thank you, Lafihi, who says, "You forgot to rank Rarity, Applejack, and Fluttershy.
Imagine not putting Rainbow Dash in there.
Is Rarity a pony?
Yeah,
Which one's Rarity?
the rare one.
Like a shiny Pokemon? Everything I know about My Little Pony I learned from Jenny Nicholson.
That's the only source you need.
Yeah. But what other dumb things should we watch and make live streams about? So someone said that we should do a cat dog tier list of some kind, and that was my reaction. So I feel like I probably should do that.
Wow. Sorry, can you finish that? A cat dog what?
I think that was kind of the
Oh, that
part
was
of
it.
But I think the idea of like a character tier list or an episode tier list or something.
For the children's cartoon from 20 years ago, Cat Dog.
Well, Gladys, it has a cat on one end and
No,
a dog on the other end.
I understand
No,
the
but you don't
premise.
get it. It's one animal.
No,
with the
yes.
with like a cat and they
And
get
a
into
dog.
hijinks
yes,
together.
and they hate each other.
Why aren't we watching that right now?
Why are we talking about horses of ice and fire?
Cat dogs of ice and fire is what we really need. Put in the comments what dumb show we should talk about
Game of
on the
Thrones.
internet. Paola says, "What's the top 3 horses?" It's the Silver Mare, Daenerys' Silver Mare, and the Hound's horse Stranger, and Vargo Hort's Zebra Zorse, with honorable mentions to Eggs, Mule, Maester, and Tyrek Lannister.
That's it.
Thank you, Burning Brightly, who says, "Have an exam worth 40% of my grade this morning, but Glider's horse stream ranking takes precedence.
You're damn right it does.
If the exam is on horses, you are set."
You are. If the exam is on Sumerian super donkeys, you are gonna ace it.
If they have like an exam question, like an essay question on Sumerian super donkeys, you've just aced the whole test, my friend.
Remember to make an essay plan before you start gish galloping about super donkey.
Gish galloping. Deep cut.
Thank you.
My goodness. Thank you, Jordan, who says thanks for all the streams and things.
Thank you for watching all the streams and things, everyone.
Glidus, I think it might be time to wrap up this
Yeah,
live
it
stream.
might be time for us to gallop on down.
Just to mosey on into the sunset on our tippy
Yeah,
hooves.
time for us to trot off.
Anonymous, thank you for the donation, says, "After a long day of work, I play one of your live streams on YouTube or Nebula, and I fall asleep as you talk about boobus and dragons."
Thank you.
Yeah, well, we do have some extra streams and videos, extra long Hot Day streams, and also
we do
the
too.
fake Jon Snow, which is exclusively on Nebula and Patreon. So you're welcome to check that out too. Thank you so much for listening, everybody.
Yeah. It's great when lots of people tune into our nonsense chats.
It's delightful.
What a silly little job we have here.
It's delightful. Press subscribe to Glidus and follow Materia and the Beggar King on Spotify.
And click the Pictionary merch.
Yeah, buy that merch.
Buy that merch.
Buy that merch. And see you next time. Don't you normally like play the keyboard for a few hours after a live show?
Yeah. I'll just
Maybe you can scat.
Do you think horses can scat?
I mean, they are pretty expressive verbally. Yeah, they've got a lot going on. Horses fart really loud as well. Have you noticed that? Horses fart a lot.
I suppose they do, yeah.
Yeah. But like, I don't know. I feel like they fart louder than most mammals. What mammals fart the loudest, do you think? What's like the tier list of the loudest farting mammals?
I'm really glad that you started talking about this several hours into the stream.
Well, now you're invested again.
Yeah.
I've reeled you back in.
Yeah. Really woken me back up.
All right. I'll
You
press
guys,
the bye
you guys
button.
all try going to sleep. You guys all sleep to these streams. How do you think we feel trying to stay awake?
This is in
Well,
our
we're-
brains all the
We're
time.
constantly putting each other to sleep with our dulcet tones and hoarse discussions.
I'm gonna go and do some fart research. I'll see you guys later.
I hate you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for
Bye.
tuning in. Bye-bye.
Bye.